Well, well, well! Good morning, lads, lasses, and you non-binary folk. How are we all feeling? Oh, feeling quite well, honestly. Feeling quite well. I've got the old, I can hear the background music myself now, because I still have the monitor on. It's nice. Ah, I really have to thank that relative of mine. Oh, speaking of, I did not set that up. I knew I forgot something. I was going to show some pictures. Hello, Hogan, all the 20th Century's house gang. Hello, J-Hank. How much like 20th century housing are you feeling like today, eh? Hmm? Feeling like you have a white picket fence around you? And are going to be used to sell the American dream? Maybe I should always let myself hear the music in the background. It's quite enjoyable. I could hear the background music too. It's kind of unusual, hearing my relative's voice, but yes. Well, reports on my sense of taste and smell, it's mostly back. I think it's a lot more back than it was when I thought I had it back last time, so... No, I ate a whole big breakfast and could taste everything in it. It was great. But yes, sorry for not streaming yesterday. I was intending to do 2 streams this week, because Wednesday and Thursday were the only days I had off, but, well, I got distracted helping with a relative, and I went and visited somebody, and then I got distracted unpacking boxes, and I found a heap of cool bottles from an old relative of mine who passed away at the beginning of, the early 2000s. Badly the idea of taking a nuclear bus. Like that underground one, you know? That was that underground one, right? That was designed and was in the middle of the desert in near Los Angeles or something. I don't know if that was a 50s house, but, you know. You know the one I'm talking about, that's like, got the fake sky and everything. Horrifying. Something out of like a Twilight Zone episode. I'm gonna watch the Twilight Zone stuff again. But yes, while I was looking through this, good morning, Tiberian, good morning. While I was looking through this old stuff, I found a heap of very cool bottles of alcohol they used to own. They drank a lot of wine, this relative. Wine and port and sherry and sort of things like that. And they had a lot of really interesting bottles. Granted, most of them have been taken by my niece, but I did get a few photos of them. Or at least she's claimed quite a few of them, and I'm running out of space to collect bottles. These are very interesting, and a lot of these bottles I wouldn't have bought even if I was collecting alcohol bottles at the time. These are all from the half of them are from the 70s. And I took a heap of pictures of them, and I downloaded them, and then I forgot to actually set up a set of images. How do I do that? I've forgotten. Maybe I'll just... That's the moving Golden Gate arm, isn't it? I'm starting to realize I have two images. What 20th century house are you feeling? Ah, the Queenslander. That's what I'm feeling. Feeling like a Queenslander. Not a colonial era house, but that's not 20th century. But the Queenslander. That's what I'm feeling. That's what piece of architecture I'm feeling. It technically was a 20th century piece of architecture because it pretty much exists always. As long as the style of house exists, it always exists. It's all types of era of architecture. Feeling like a Queenslander. And it's funny because I am a Queenslander. Actually, I'm a New South Welshman. But I'm living in Queensland, so that's close enough. Queenslanders are very nice if they're done well. They don't look too different. In fact, they look like houses with the white picket fence attached to them. No need to get that white picket fence out on your lawn, mate. You can just have it right on your house. And then you can have another one around your house. You can have 2 white picket fences. Twice the American dream. That's how that works, right? The American dream is dictated by how many white picket fences you have attached to your property. That's the true sign that you've made it. There's a strange amount of interaction with the Twitter post today, I actually do. It's had the most engagements and impressions I've had in a while. The tweet for this stream was very interesting. But yeah, it's back to these pictures. What was I doing? Yes, that's why I was looking at these pictures, wasn't I? Distracted by a sound. I wanted to buy a ranch-style home for the 50s or 60s with the original fixtures, but they were too expensive because everyone was buying them up, gutting them, filling with the contents of loaves, oh dear, and then flipping them. Well, yes, that happens to a lot of old houses. Honestly, I'm a bit of a Japanophile, I suppose, so if I were to get one of those old-style houses, I don't know if I'd very much like a Queenslander. I'd like to live in it. I've lived in a Queenslander before, plenty of times, over my life. Various forms of Queenslander. I don't know, I'm a bit of a Japanophile, so if I were to buy any old-style house, I'd probably go to Japan and buy one. I'd rather buy one of their old-style houses. You know, I've watched this fellow called Tokyo Llama. Very interesting series of his, like, documenting his journey from buying an old abandoned house and renovating it, and an old abandoned farmhouse, a Genka farmhouse, or a Ginka farmhouse. It's very fascinating. And seeing what they do and all the weird stuff that they did, and there's like a false second floor because they didn't finish it when they were building the house, because you would get taxed on the floor space you have, so if they didn't finish the floor, it didn't technically count as floor space, so they didn't get taxed on it. Reminds me of, I think it's the Greeks? I can't remember. There's another group that their government tax code, if the house isn't finished, they don't get taxed as much, and so every house has just got a half-finished second floor. It's fascinating stuff. You know, I've always liked, you know what's something I like about American architecture? There's some farmhouses that I really like, but I actually really enjoy the sort of rural log house sort of style. Outstanding move. Yeah, well, you know, you gotta make it somehow. But there's that sort of, you know, you see them in, like, images of those beautiful forests in North America and in Canada and stuff, those beautiful things, and, like, those tall tree pine forests surrounded by the logs, and I've blown plenty of houses in my life, but they weren't to my taste. Own is a strong word. I never did truly own them. And I moved so often during my life, buying houses was sort of a bit inconvenient, honestly. So, don't get too excited. I'm one of the few that can match with you. Even these days, I don't really own this house that I'm in, so I'm just living in it. So don't worry, I'm not too far from you. The difference is, the payments I have to make are a lot better than the rent you fellas have to pay these days. A lot better. Granted, I use my superfluous capital to help my family members with their rent and their payments, so I'm using it for something. There's a reason why I don't have much money, honestly. Ugh. But yes, what was I doing? And anyway, next year is going to lead me all the way... Sam, it's the old man. Oh, hello, Pound of Knives. We're talking about housing. Exciting topic, right? How am I going to do this? Maybe I should look into renting. It seems renting is more expensive than paying a mortgage. It is. It is. Especially in cities. I'd imagine they're not too different. It really depends. I said, well, I'm living with a fam. Ah, that's fine. If you don't worry about living with people. These days it's a lot more acceptable to live with it. Riveted by seat. Well, I'm glad. But don't worry about living with your fam, mate. Even back in when I was younger, I didn't come from a very well-off family. So I actually stayed with my family for a great deal of my 20s. Almost into my 30s. Because it was just easier. More financially smart, I suppose. So don't worry about it, Pound of Knives. Just do what you can to make your way in your life. Anyone makes fun of you for living with your parents and living in their basement or whatever, just tell them off and say, well, if you're so rich, maybe you should pay for a house for me, mate. If you're so concerned about my living situation. Now, what was I doing? Image slideshow. I already did have one. I'll make another one. Doesn't matter. That directory. There we are. I don't know what the hotkeys are for this, but check out these bottles. This is some bottles from an older relative of mine who'd passed away quite a while ago. And, one of my family members came with a lot of boxes that they were clearing out of a shed. And we looked through them yesterday. And this was one of the things I found. I don't know how to actually... Oh, there's a button there, okay. Check them out. Black Tower. Nice bottle, yes, they're clay. They're fired clay, actually. I believe they're wines. I don't have the bottles here right now, so I can't really... Hang on, but I believe they're wines from various places in the world. Well, these two. I think the one's a rosé, and the other is just a white wine, I think. Nice jokes. That's a really old... It just reminds me of an old joke for the channel. I do have some nice jokes, don't I? But yeah, so those ones are ceramic. There's another green one in the style of the one on the right there. That black one. There's a green one that's also the same shape. They're really fascinating. These are from the 60s, I think. I believe. At least... Yeah, no, I think they're both from the 60s. So I was far too young to be buying alcohol at the time that these sort of bottles went out of style. You could probably still find them somewhere in Europe. Check out this one, though. It's a brandy bottle. This is a bottle. So this is what it came in. This is what the brandy came in. Really well preserved, this one, actually. It's pretty old. And the metal looks quite good. I love the swan handle. Very fabulous. Just this fascinating stuff that I found. It's amazing what you could find. Oh, there was another thing. I didn't take a picture of it, but we found in these boxes. These weren't all from the same relative. They were from various other places. Interesting, isn't it? I'll give you the next photo. Let me turn around. But we had an older relative who knew someone. It was a lady that we used to know back in another town. She's passed away a fair few years ago now, but One of my nieces, I think, were doing a history assignment. And they... It was this niece that brought... So thirsty now. Oh yes, look at this. That's the Harbour Bridge, Sydney Opera House on the side of this bottle. This is ceramic of some kind. Glazed. You could read the bottle. Yes, yes, yes. That's why my niece has taken a lot of the bottles, actually. We kind of had my sisters and brothers and niece and nephew here yesterday. It was very good. But the other thing we found in this stuff... Where's Pen and Not Thirsty? Jump to the next one. Oh yes, this is the fish! The fish! Look at it! Beautiful! It's a white wine called Piscinine or something like that, or Persinine. You know, it's referencing the zodiac. You know, the fish. Of course you are, Panda, of course you are. But yes, the other thing was that this is a photocopy. God. The thing I'm talking about, I'm holding in my hands right now, is a photocopy of a document that I knew someone had. I remember hearing about this, but when my sister pulled this one out of one of the boxes, Instrument of Surrender. It is a photocopy of... It is a copy, or a photocopy of the, yes, that one, of the official Treaty of Surrender. From Tokyo Bay, from Japan. So signed Tokyo Bay, September 2nd, 1945. Instrument of Surrender. So this is... Hirohito, by the grace of heaven, Emperor of Japan, seated on the throne occupied by the same dynasty, changeless throughout ages eternal. To all whom these presents shall come, greetings. We do hereby authorize Mamoru Shigemitsu Zuosanmi, first class of the Imperial Order of the Rising Sun, to attach his signature by command and in behalf of ourselves and our government under the instrument of surrender, which is required by the Supreme Commander for all the Allied forces to be signed. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our signature and caused the Great Seal of the Empire to be affixed. Given our place in Tokyo, this is the first day of the 9th month of the 12th year of Sowa. 2605th year from the accession of the Emperor Zenmu. It's also got translation. That's a translation of it, and then you've got the actual document written in the printed in Japanese, in old Japanese characters using very little. There's no pretty much barely any. There's no hiragana actually. I don't think. Oh no, there's a bit of katakana there and hiragana there. Interesting stuff, though. This is a photocopy, a very large photocopy of a much older document that was owned by a lady we once knew. Now, I can't tell you if it was some sort of historical recreation of the Instrument of Surrender, or she somehow got her hands on an actual Instrument of Surrender. I couldn't say. She's passed away now, so there's no way to ask unless I'm very good at seances all of a sudden. But yeah, it's fascinating stuff. When we saw it, I was blown away. Why do we have an Instrument of Surrender? It's very fascinating stuff. Let's move to the next bottle. This is a whiskey bottle. It looks like that top thing's a glass, but no, it's just a very strange looking whiskey bottle. This is no idea from where it's from, but it came with a glass. Very interesting. Glass is chipped though. I didn't check if it was cracked through, but that one's still here, so. Interesting stuff, though. His stuff is very fascinating, but that Instrument of Surrender really surprised me. I'm gonna have a fun time showing that to my Japanese shooter tonight. It's gonna be very fun. I'm like, hey, check this out. I have the Instrument of Surrender from 1945. Oh, fascinating stuff, though. The things you find in old families that collect far too much. I'll show us a whiskey that looks like a ball. Why is it... I have a whiskey that looks like a ball? Sorry. I've been having this terrible dry cough. It's an old Winter's Fairly heirloom. Do I have whiskey that looks like a ball? I don't think I do. There are some whiskey bottles that come in decanters shaped like the globe. There are some very interesting decanters out there. I don't have any currently, though. At least. I haven't got through all the boxes. There may still be some hidden in those boxes somewhere. But yes, an old Winters family heirloom. It's something we've all inherited. We're terrible collectors. I have shelves. Shelves and shelves covered in collected items. Some of them are more useless than others, like some things are only good as paperweights, like this, currently I use it to wrap my cord around, but I have an ingot made of aluminium. Just a little circular ingot, and a giant ball that's made of electric tape. That's truly massive, it's really big. Dragon whiskey? Ooh, that sounds fancy. I did recently see a brand of whiskey that I hadn't seen before called Dragon something. Well, that's a very cool one. I look up Dragon's Tears. It's a brand I saw recently. That's some sort of cinnamon whiskey. I haven't been buying any much alcohol recently because I haven't been able to taste anything, so there's not much point buying any. The first person says, not like Fireball. Nothing like its counterparts. Oof. Ouch. I'm starting to realize there's very little about Returnal and more about the fun stuff I've found. Well, I'm trying to make up for the fact I haven't really streamed in a while. I'm not going to stream more than this stream this week, so I've got to make up some time. I have a surprising amount of soft toys in this house. Like, bears and tiny little seals and all that sort of thing. A couple of statuettes from various video games. Not actually mine, I didn't buy them, but I did get given them. Because they didn't have any space in their apartment for it. Yeah, fun, fascinating stuff, really. Fascinating stuff. Most fascinating to me is that instrument of surrender. I don't know, I was just amazed by it. I also get plushies in there. That's right, you call them plushies, don't you? It's plushies and soft toys. Do you know what soft toys sounds very strange now I say it in front of Panda Knives. I feel like I always have to think about my words as innuendos whenever you're around. Listen to this talk while actually in the game, to be honest. Oof. Dear oh dear. The poor old game. It's trying its best. Ah well. I was kind of planning on just doing a just chatting stream, but I did want to kind of play a bit of the soft toys. That's what I've always called them. Because it kind of covers everything. On the wall behind you with your game collection, since you're a streamer. Yes, to put them I have to go... Funny thing is, I don't know where I've put those... I know that's where those shelves have gone. Poor Returnal fans, like the 2 or 3 of them. Oh. Yeah, fair enough. That's fair enough. It isn't the most gripping game, that's for sure. Oh, yes, there's another thing I found. I don't have a picture for this one, but this is fun alcohol I saw when I was at the bottle recently. And there's a town called Gin. And I was shocked that there wasn't a brand of gin made in Gin. But now there is. It's got a very cool bottle, actually, so I'll definitely get it one day. But the Gin. When I look at the names of my own towns, I do wonder sometimes if Australia is real, but yes, the Gin. Oh yes, I did see someone screaming Cult of the Lamb recently. I think it was one of the people associated with that Cup the Kitsune lady. She had some, of her sort of screamer friends were playing it, and I saw it because of that, because it suggested the sort of her little network to me. Well, network, it's just kind of... You get the point. Maybe? Not too sure. I've actually started subscribing to people that I wanted to keep an eye on this this account, so... Cup the Kitsune, that's one. Oh! I'll do that right now, Jay. Don't you worry. That one that Lord Theo is a mod for, I think. Cup the Kitsune, that one. The Aussie lady. I don't think she's a member of a company, no, but she has, like, friends in her, like, when you look at her page, her main homepage of her channel, there's, like, you know, friends in, like, the channel section, and that's one of them, and so I went around just kind of, like, looking at all of them, because... And I also looked at one of them because they were doing something very funny when I happened to see them. What was I doing? Yes! Like that, yes. Lot going, isn't there? You forgot to give us a kiss as well. Oh, did I? I didn't know I promised that, mate. Goodness, that doesn't sound like me at all. You know how us older folk get about physical affection. Especially such public signs of affection. I'm supposed to be sitting gruffly in the corner. Where should I post it? In the Discord. Where should I post it in the Discord? Those pictures. Should I go in the art section? Yes, I've talked to Cup. I was in Cup's chat for 2 of her streams. Lord Theo was there. It was very good. What was I doing? Not playing Returnal and talking about houses. That's true. And also giving that picture. You wanted the stray thumbnail with me in the pot, right? Let me go find that file. You gotta remind me of these things, because honestly, life is busy and I do not remember. Now, which one was it? It would be this one, right? You want my big face out of the way, but little me in it. But the main chat? Yeah, fair enough. I need to shave again. Oh, the story of my life, mate. You don't maintain a nicely crafted beard like this by not shaving constantly. So I'll get my big mug out of it. Maybe I'll take the symbol off. I'll just make the screenshot. Get the big face out of it. Yep. Export as stray wallpaper, I suppose. I might have to turn this into a JPEG instead of a PNG, but I'll have to see if it does with it. Speaking of houses, I've seen a lot of great sky structures where I live. Buildings have a cool design too. Skyscrapers? Oh, I wasn't aware. Are they some sort of giant lavatory that stretches into the sky? A floating toilet? An elevated, levitating porcelain throne? Ooh, truly. Frightening things. Skyscrapers. Skyscrapers, yes, I know. I just thought it would be funny to say skyscrapers. That's hilarious. Now, I would have been in data in those pictures where I took a lot more of the screenshots. Yes, all the eyes. I did take a lot of picture of the eyes, but... I did take a lot of good screenshots of that game, actually. I'm honestly impressed with myself. I'll just show it in the general chat. Oop. Bing! Oh, you wouldn't have heard that one, though. Here is that stray wallpaper. There you go. There you go, everyone. Giant toilet bit of it. I'm terrified with what will come out of it. Yes. Humanity lived in peace until the arrival of the skyscrapers. Truly a frightening invention. Sounds like some sort of post-capitalist hellscape sort of thing. Like something you'd see in that like Altered Carbon show where all the rich people live in the sky or something like that. And literally shit all over the lower class. Oh yes! I should probably mention this notification. Just like a day ago, I got a subscriber, one by name of Denieru Let's Plays. So some sort of Let's Play channel. Subscribe. So thank you for that, fellow, if you're actually here or hear this. Thank you, Denieru Let's Plays. For subscribing when I wasn't doing anything. It's that sort of thing that makes me think there's something to this whole streaming business, you know? When people subscribe to me when I'm not even doing anything. It's very nice. That one day maybe this will be something. But hey! Who knows? Early days yet, eh? It'll be a lot more difficult for me to maintain a consistent... Well, actually, it'll be very easy to maintain a consistent scream schedule. I cannot say scream, you know? When I try and say... I do it all the time. Stream schedule. I always say scream schedule. I don't know why. It's just, it's the inner thoughts leaking out as I scream into the void. Isn't that what screaming is, anyway? Wildly screaming into the void. And you just hope that as you look into the void looks back. And then people watch you, and it feels nice. There's the positive view of that phrase. If you look long into the void will look back. The void looks into you, and all that. But if the void's the internet, only if you have no viewers. Fair enough. But technically, there's a great void of time and space between me and you all. So really, I am screaming into the void. It's entirely possible that your internet will go down and I won't reach you. Or my words will be lost. To, I don't know, a glitch or something. I don't know. Me muting myself for the first 5 minutes of the stream. There have been a few things where I've screamed into the void for the first few minutes of the stream. It's very strange sometimes. This music's really making me talkative, isn't it? I might have to change this to returnal and free talk if I go any longer like this. I talk to myself all the time, so I wouldn't mind. Yeah, well, that's one of the many reasons my nephews encouraged me to do this whole streaming business. Is that, I am a person who talks, he thinks out loud, honestly. It's not because I can't think in my head, it's just it allows me... To me, I've always found it easier to organize my thoughts if I think out loud. My brain loves running all around, being very haphazard, and when I'm thinking within my own head, it's all haphazard. Speaking out loud allows me to slow my brain down, force it to move as fast as my mouth. So it was very... It's very useful for me, and so I've always done it. Many, many, many years I've done it. Talking to myself. So, mostly it's under my breath, though, like muttering. Sort of thing. Have you ever heard of SimCity 3000 soundtrack? I did play a few of the SimCities, but I can't say I really, thought of the soundtrack. No, I can't say I know about it that much. SimCity, a lot of the Sim stuff has really fallen out of my purview. I didn't really play many of them. I played a few of them here or there. So, sometimes your thoughts can get away from you if you let them move at the speed of thought. It's too fast. Too easy to derail. And you know how you've watched these streams. You see how easily distracted I am already. Imagine that, but at the speed of thought. It'd be maddening. So, the void yells at me to shut up. Don't know why I have this cough. Ooh, so I started to shave. Oh, good job. But my brain decided not to shave my face. Oh, I see. Well, that was a choice. Certainly. Maybe I should become like one of... Maybe I should shave my chest. A very hairy chest. Maybe I should be one of those... Get really fit, you know? Become one of those, like, Greek gods. It's 35 minutes in. Might as well make this just chatting stream. I suppose we could do that, I suppose. Wow, has it really been that long already? Crazy. Absolutely mad. Shave my foot. I'm gonna do the other one now. Alright. Oh, you're right. I don't really feel like playing the games, but I really... These jokes were so funny. You know what? I'm gonna make a document, copy these, paste these jokes, and we'll use them for another stream. We'll use them for another stream. Copy this title and this description. I like these. Well, it's not like this game was very popular anyway, so it's not like it's going to change that much. Yeah, it really isn't that popular. You know what, I'll just delete that, actually. Delete that Reddit post. And then just warn everyone it's turned into a just chatting stream. And I forgot. Going to be... just chatting it is. Returnal to just chatting. What a new Novation Peak synthesizer for $1,000. Ooh, got $300 off. Very nice. It's a pretty fancy synthesizer. It is. Wow. Supposed to hear the 200. You probably just Googled it. I already have. Faster than a speeding bullet, mate. That is a right and proper one, ain't it? Goodness. What are you going to be using it for? I'm going to actually... Gonna look at the, But yeah, this sort of stuff is pretty fascinating. Yeah, no, reject. I don't want to care about your cookies. Analog and digital and analog. Very good. I was probably getting a cheaper one, but I saw the low price and I had to go for it. My nephew would like that. He certainly would enjoy that. Want to make music with it? Well, yes, I guess that. I suppose I was being more specific. You're gonna be producing music, or you're gonna be, you know, performing the music yourself, or you're gonna be using, you know, different sort of things. There's a lot of digital effects. Interesting. Much of a player of different instruments. I'm mostly a brass and classical player, so I can't really... Well, I guess I could do that sort of thing. Well, in fact, the brass in this song, it's quite... It was originally the sort of brass instrument is me, actually, in this song. I feel so smooth! smooth. I bought a bicycle. I haven't ridden one since I was a little kid, so I almost crashed into with a few cars and ended up falling anyway, but not run over. Silver lining, J-Hank. Silver lining. That's right, I was changing the description. What do they call them? Free talks? Free chat? Just chatting? I've forgotten what they call them these days. And I'll put it in the channel if I like them enough. Just chatting? Nope, why the hell did it do that? That's Sudan in the VTuber world. Yeah, I don't really see that one that often. Oops. All chatting. Oops, all talking. I'm gonna say, oops, all geriatric rambling. There you go. That's nice. That's funny. Oops, all geriatric rambling. I don't know where I got that oops, all this from. I remember now, there was a channel I like watch. It is a channel I watch. It's current. They're one of those sort of literary analysts and history educational channels. They're very fun. They're called OSP, Overly Sarcastic Productions. Very fun stuff. 20th century housing will have to wait. The architecture could be appreciated later. Geriatric, I'll tell you about your recent trip. Oh yes! I never really got to sit down and talk about some stuff. I have, well, there was a recent trip. I suppose it wasn't that recent. It was back in June or something. It's been a while, July. But the, where I travelled to Queensland, North Queensland. Oops, all berries and American breakfast cereal. Oh, is it? It's been from Crunch Berries. Ah. I'm gonna find one of my free talk pictures. There we are. There we are. Okay, it's all edited. Now it should show up as something a bit more normal, unlike that Deus Ex stream where I gave up on the Deus Ex for a moment. But yeah, Deus Ex was good. That was fun. I remember that. We finished that last week, didn't we? Yes, what was I doing? But yes, you know what sort of I do want to explain to all of you is the fascinating world of hungies. I wanted to talk about, because I remember I talked about hungies. So I went up to North Queensland recently and visited some relatives, and it's been a very long time since we've been able to go to this old holiday spot on the beach. Pretty miserable beach, and it was very cold. Joined with a supercomputer to dominate the world. Yes, I did do that in Deus Ex. But yes, it's really nice to go back there. Just the nostalgia, the very smell of the place is wildly nostalgic. It's great. It's what I mentioned. It's the place where I mentioned my love of the smell of fire comes from, with that slight saltiness that comes from burning driftwood. Slight edge to the smell, and that's why I like Lefroy and Ardbeg and other smoky scotches. And other smoky things in general. I remember the hair, it feels so good. Unlikely. You just end up, the only way to do that permanently burn knives and get rid of all the hair on your body is to have scar tissue covering all of your skin. And yes, it would be smooth, but you would also be in incredible pain whenever the weather changed. Scar tissue does not adapt as well as skin does. I would know. I have a fairly large scar on my back that gets itchy all the time. It dries out very easily. It can crack and bleed if it's not good enough. It's a rough time. Especially when you get older. It would be smoothly painful. But yes, Especially once you get older and your skin starts changing. Scar tissue doesn't change as much. There's laser hair, but it doesn't keep it away for so long. I believe it's, what, only a year or something, right? Or 6 months. Laser hair does not keep things away for very long, and it's also wildly painful. I believe there's a procedure you could do it over and over again, and maybe it'll stop the follicle from going back, but I don't think it's that good. The human body's very good at coming back from that. You'd have to completely destroy the skin. That's the problem. From what I've heard, it isn't permanent laser hair removal. Or at least isn't as effective as you'd think. But yeah, it was very nice going up north. We did a lot of things. I was a bartender for the most time I was up north. Made dozens of drinks. I made a drink called Sex on the Beach while I was on the beach. It was a great time. And my nieces and nephews and brothers and sisters had a great deal of fun. Just, you know, going, oh, just make me a drink. What body area would exist? Yeah, it's a question for later. It's disgusting. Oh, calm down. You're making me feel bad. I'm covered in body hair. Look at me. But yes. Oh, I also tortured one of my brothers-in-law with the power of, scotch, because he hates it. And then I gave him Ardbeg, which is a very, very rough scotch to drink. And he almost vomited. It was hilarious. I bet that drink is better than the show. It is. It's alright. I don't know what I use. It's peach schnapps, vodka, orange juice, I think, and peach schnapps, vodka, orange juice, and cranberry juice. It looks really nice, and it's an alright tropical drink. I made it quite strong. Surprisingly enough, a lot of my nieces and nephews aren't quite used to drinking this stuff. They're all drinking that. They're too used. The youngest of my nieces and nephews are too used to eating that. They're having those bloody vodka cruises and stuff like that, where you can barely taste the alcohol in them. They're all sweet and soft drinky. Absolutely, no palate on them, I'm telling you. Absolutely no refinement in their palate. Couldn't handle a nice scotch if it hit them in the face. The hell was that? Sorry, just thought I heard a bloody, was that always in that song? Huh. Or was that from somewhere else? I couldn't tell if it was just in the backing track, and I just heard a sound that I remember not hearing before, but heard like a bloody sonar from a submarine that really distracted me. What was I saying? Yes, Sex on the Beach. It was alright. It was me. Are you a submarine? Sound like that kind of sound that submarines make when they're doing the whole sonar thing in movies. But yeah, some of them couldn't handle a good scotch or a good spirit if it hit them in the face. Absolute tragedy. Kids these days and their bloody vodka cruises and soft drinks, what's the point? That's why I never really drunk alcohol until I was much older, compared to most people my age, because to me I didn't like the taste of alcohol, and eventually I grew to like it. But before that, people are like, oh, just drink this. Doesn't taste like there's any alcohol in it. I don't see the point in that. It seems, sort of, bloody... Why would you bother spending so much money, then? Granted, I have always had this idea that there's no point in getting drunk. Drunk is not an objective one should have. Getting tipsy is fine, but more it's the social day. For me, drinking is drinking. It's supposed to be something that to be enjoyed, not something to drown one's sorrows in. The point is to get tipsy. Yes, I know, but it just seems... it's a bias in my own head. That I always thought that way. I always thought... what's the point of that? Why would you bother drinking if you can't drink the alcohol? If the alcohol isn't part of the flavor profile, what's the point of it being there? It's a very chef way of looking at things, actually. I've never been a chef, though, but I did grow up around them. Been a valet, a hallway, cyberpunk bartender. Yes, I did. I might have wishlisted it, actually. On Steam. Because it was, yes, I did. One of you mentioned it before. And I wishlisted it to, sort of... there it is, Cult of the Lamb, popped up. That one has very, if I remember correctly, that one has some very explicit dialogue. Or is it an epic? I don't know. There's too many of these servers. There's two whole things that I have to look at, and it's very difficult. But yes, I always found it pointless to have your objective to get drunk. Yes, I know how well, like, alcohol is a great social lubricant, I'll admit. But a lot of it doesn't even come from the alcohol itself, but its presence. People that I know become almost entirely different people, not because they're drunk, but because they have a beer in their hand. It's stronger in other countries. I've heard it's very strong over in Japan, where it's almost like magic. You give them a glass of beer, and suddenly they're not drunk. They drink that one glass of beer. They're not drunk from it. It just changes the way they think. It kind of makes it go, okay, now is the time to relax. When they've got the beer in their hand, they relax. They open up. It's fascinating stuff. Fortnite, Dragon Ball Super. Huh. The announcements these games throw at me. Check if I have it on Epic. But it's fascinating stuff, really. Ever know about Big Daddy, a game where a person goes back? No, I have not heard that one, and for some reason I'm getting a chill up my spine and worrying about if I actually want to know at all, Panda. There's the Ipris files. What was I looking at? It's on Steam. Oh dear. It's not all that expensive, actually. I feel like I did add it to my wishlist though. Yes. The city that should not exist. Ooh, very frightening. It's a free game on Steam. Hey, we're not returning right now. Yeah, sorry about that, Andy. I got distracted. I had a really funny description that made fun of you in it. But I got really distracted, so, sorry about that. We're talking now. We were talking about architecture. And get out of here. So sorry about that. We're returning to just chatting. With me at the hand. Has a bit of his head. Okay, so let me tell you about the Nintendo game too. I'm just talking about various things. I'm just talking about that trip a while back, and I really want to talk about hungies actually. While I was there, we all got together and we're like, okay, we have to get a hungy done. We have to do a hungy. We had a very small week period that we had to get it done. Oh, you got a PS5. Very good, Andy. You and very few others. You have joined the exclusive club that includes me too. Of the PS5 owner. Feel superior, Andy. For you are. Better than everyone else. It's a free game these days. Ooh. Cook, serve, delicious. That looks frightening. I'll get around to it. Triggers are cool. Yes, they are, aren't they? I really love the whole haptic feedback, resistive triggers thing. It's very fascinating stuff. They've really done a good job with that controller. It's probably my favourite so far. Other than the ones I like just for nostalgia's sake. Anyone go in? Now, I feel like I set up a set of pictures. The 5 games there. Yeah, fair enough. Oh, you make a very good point. Touche, J. Hank. Touche. Oh, the pictures are on my phone, aren't they? Oh, dear. Okay, I'm gonna freeze and stare into your souls because I have to go onto my phone to find these damn pictures. Oh, look at me. There it is. Took a while for it to realise it hadn't got me in the frame. What was I looking for? Pictures. Did I actually save any of them? Hey, you can port your PS4 games to PS5. So, yeah, there's backwards compatibility. That's pretty cool. I don't know if TV will play games anymore, really, so don't be behind one. Spectacular point. So. Starting to send me these these pictures of the hunger. So I can actually show you the process of making a hungy. Very fascinating process. You know, hello. How are you, flame maker? Make any good flames recently? So I apologize for my stiff appearance. Stage fright, you know how it is. No, I'm currently trying to get some photos because I have become wildly distracted by what we were originally doing. We were originally playing video games. But I have decided I want to talk about stuff. So, here we are. How are you, though? Doing well? And let's throw all this together. Last few pictures. Wow, there's dozens and many many flame jokes. Yes. That's fire, as they say. Doesn't that mean that's good, right? That's what that means. Let me get my face back to moving. Yes, connect to the damn thing. There I am. Oh, God, damn it. What happened to Returnal, though? I got distracted. I was going to play it, I swear. But I haven't, I just got into a conversation, and about 30 minutes in, we realized maybe we should just make this a just chatting stream, because, I have already been chatting for 35 minutes. So we did. We returned to the big chilling. I just got distracted. I was just chatting, and then I realized, wow, that's a category of streaming. Maybe I should just name my stream that. Truly, forefront of the whole streaming business. This just chatting thing. I think it's going to be big one day. Came to me like a prophecy from a god. It was like, just chatting. Perfect. That's a perfect idea for a stream. Who's goes on willing to buy the PS3? Yeah, the PS3 is pretty good. I like the PS5 because it makes everything look nice. And also, by having it, I can play really nice looking games, and it doesn't really put any stress on my computer, which is nice. So when I'm streaming stuff, really the PS5 has mostly been very good for streaming, honestly. It's very good. Though I have been playing older things like, I played a bit of Bloodborne on it recently, because you can kind of play Bloodborne, it's very nice. They've been doing trying a lot harder with this whole backwards compatibility stuff. Xbox 360 or the Rings of Death are a worrying matter. The black, if you get one of the newer Xbox 360, if you get the black Xbox 360s, they didn't ever have a problem. I had one of those, and they never once crashed for me. It's the white ones that you have to worry about. Just realized how racially charged that sounded. Oh dear. But yes, the first models of the Xbox 360 were terribly flawed. Overheating and all that sort of thing. Melting their own parts. No, hold on. Hey, the Jack, how are you? Get me so, Apparently not so well, actually. Oh, goodness, I'm coughing my arm off. Red Ring of Death Metal. The Red Ring of Death Metal. The old love is burning me. It makes it. I don't know why I thought of that song. Ring of Fire. Honestly, it was a Ring of Fire in a way, because it was an overheating problem a lot of the time. So it was a Ring of Fire. But it wasn't quite love that was doing it. Newest console I'm about to buy is the SpongeBob Nose plug-and-play console. Oh no. For some reason that sounds frightening. With 5 SpongeBob games. A spongy bubble. A game. God, I don't know why I'm coughing so much today. My backwards compatibility, the Sims didn't come with it. I know, right? Bit of a tame. If I want Xbox, I should put more money and get a PC. Yeah, that's probably an investment. I like this old thing. It's massive, and I can't carry it can't carry it myself anymore, so it's never going to move off this desk. But it's nice. It's pretty good. Good fan of it, I suppose. I'll have to say goodbye to it for a while, though, next year. Because I'll be going somewhere. It'll be very difficult to bring it. Next year, we'll be probably streaming off a fancy laptop. At March sometime. Probably while I get myself set up, it'll be less gaming streams next year. But it'll be fascinating. Maybe I'll pull back the curtain a bit and talk about what I've been doing. Only 60 gigabyte models of the hardware too. Yeah. Anyone here know about Chad Warden? No, we don't. But I fear that you're going to tell us, aren't you? Hmm? I don't know about Chad Warden. I'm walking into the joke for you. Yes. Oh, goodness. Oh, Chad was an icon that talked about the PS Triple. Huh? Gonna have to look him up now. He's an old meme. Yeah, that's probably why I didn't know. Gonna upgrade my laptop. Don't have the PC monies. Well, aren't laptops just as expensive, if not more expensive for power level? According to power level is... I'm just coughing a lot, don't worry about me. I'm okay, I just had this dry cough recently. It usually disappears partway through the day, but it's being a bit more persistent this morning. Don't know what it is. Yes, most of my meme knowledge is pretty sparse. Pretty sparse. Now level over 9,000. But yes, I always had the impression that, especially laptops that could do gaming, were you know, just as expensive as tower computers. I was under the impression by building a tower computer, usually you can get it for a lot cheaper than a laptop would be, for the same power. Granted, they're less portable, the towers, but, you know, it's not too bad, really. If you're not going anywhere, and this computer of mine hasn't moved from this desk since I got the damn thing 3 years ago. So, I don't know why I got such a powerful computer, but I wanted to be hip with the kids, play some of the cool new games, so it was good fun. Oh, I mean, those were simpler times. Yes. Fascinating stuff. I just really didn't interact with that sort of meme culture throughout the 90s and the early 2000s. It was only really in the 2010s when a lot of my younger nieces and nephews started growing up and interacting with the internet themselves that I... Probably not these days with GPU prices. Grant, yes, I bought it before the whole crypto blew off. Hit with the kids, wear shades, play games, be cool. Yeah, I'm trying my best. Forgive shades, may as well put them on. Why not? Let's put the old shades on, shall we? There we are. Why not? Swag, yes. I can actually change this sort of... There we are. Wow, this is sitting quite well on my nose this time. Ooh. What is smoothing? I'm haunted by the glasses. Whoa, 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 whoa. Sorry. I didn't realize I could do this. This is hilarious. I'm trying not to be cool, but the coolness, it just follows me. I can't stay away from it. Oh my god. Oh, this is spectacular. I love this. What is this? Hmm? Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god. This is perfect. I can definitely use this for something. Okay, now I know this is in existence. I can use this. This is very good. Does that mean I can be, like, chased by a trumpet? Oh, this is so stupid, but it's spectacular. The ghost of JC Dunton is chasing you, yes. He became the internet and now he's attacking me. Oh my god. Music. It's like the cat game. No trumpets. No trumpets. I don't know why smoothing does that. That is bizarre. Oh, so I can edit each one. Fascinating. So I can change that one. Oh, it's inside my face. There we are. I'm back to happy. Yeah, so if I click one, I can change its sort of smoothing. So I can get the trumpet to, you know, chase me. And keep the glasses not chasing me. Oh, this is very good. Everyone, I love discovering weird features that I wouldn't have expected to be in this. Like, why do I need this feature? Who knows? It's kind of funny. I can make something far more dangerous chase me. Woo, features! Sorry, I'm just gonna cover myself in these stupid things. I have become powerful. You cannot defeat me. Yep, we're just gonna stay like this. Sorry, I've gotten very distracted. I have no idea what I was talking about before, because this is just the best. Oh, this is amazing. I'm like I'm like a terrible Magneto. But I just attract everything, like some sort of terrible nursery rhyme. Whoa. Getting haunted by everything, all my previous stupid jokes. I feel like this is gonna get me banned then now. Just put it down there. So, how are we all? I got completely distracted by what I was doing. Because this is spectacular. Oh my goodness, it's hilarious. It took you out serving drinks at some distant point in the past. Was I? Was that what I was talking about? I've completely forgotten. You're talking about how a triangle block doesn't fit in the circle hole. Depends how big the circle hole is, honestly. I've become very confused. Very lost. And then you started going crazy. Yes, I started getting haunted Shakespeare style. I was being haunted Shakespeare style by the ghosts. The ghosts of the people I killed, like I was the Macbeth from the Scottish play. So many ghosts chasing Eric. The Phasmophobia dream is crazy. I'm like Macbeth. Being haunted by the dagger. Leave. Sorry, I was Macbeth. Dagger. Soliloquy. Okay. Got it. Now I'm gonna get rid of some of these. Give me a moment. Macbeth? You mean that I mean the Lion King? Maybe. But instead, whether you know this because it's bad luck? Yes, let's spin around 3 times and spin over my back. There we go. That's what you're supposed to do. Spin around 3 times and spin over your left shoulder. Yes, the Scottish play is what I'm supposed to say. But I said the character of Macbeth from the Scottish play. So I kind of don't know if that's the rule. I always used to get told off by saying Macbeth when I used to do it back in the day when I was younger. But here we are. This is perfect. Okay. Now let's get a sad face on. And do some, I may as well move you fellows over here. So I can see you still. Now, here we are. Now, let's do some renditions of Shakespeare. Is this a dagger which I see before me? The handle... Wait a second, I need to change the handle. It needs to be toward my hand. How do I rotate it? Oh, that's not it. That was me rotating myself. How do I rotate it again? Shift mouse wheel. There we are. Is this a dagger I see before me? Its handle toward my hand. Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still. Thou art not fatal visions sensible, to feelings as to sight, or art thou but a dagger of the mind? A false creation proceeding from the heat-oppressed brain. I see thee yet, in a form as palpable as which this now I draw. Thou marshalst me the way I was going, and yet such an instrument I was to use. My eyes are made the fools of other senses, or else worth all the rest I see thee still. And on thy blade out dungeon gouts of blood, which was not so before. There is no such thing. It is the bloody business which informs thus to mine eyes. Now, oh, the world world, nature seems dead, and wicked dreams abuse. The curtained sleep witchcraft celebrates. Pale Hecate's offering, and withered murder. Alarmed by his sentinel the wolf, whose howl his watch, thus with his stealthy pace, with Tarquin's ravishing strides towards his design, moves like a ghost. Thou art sure and firm set, earth. Hear not my steps, which way they walk for fear. Thy very stones prate of my whereabout, and take the present horror from the time, which now suits with it. While I threat, he lives. Words to the heat of deeds too cold gives breath. I go, and it is done. The bell invites me. Hear it not, Duncan, for it is a knell that summons thee to heaven or to hell. Sorry, just the floating dagger reminded me of that scene from Macbeth, so. There you go. There's your classical literature for the day. Now recite the original Klingon. Oh dear. I know nothing for McDonald's. Great performance. Thank you. I definitely didn't do it very smoothly. But, you know, what can we do? I'm not a trained Shakespearean actor. I'm just an old man haunted by a trumpet, a sock mic, a face of Kirby, and a dagger. Honestly, I don't know what I did to be haunted by such strange things, but, well. No, nothing from McDonald's. I mean Macbeth. Ah, yes. The great play, the great Scottish play, McDonald's. Its tales of obesity and sugar and clowns. Very interesting jester in the play Macbeth, McDonald's. There is a fellow in Macbeth called MacDonald, right? MacDonald. Nah, he's quite not different. He's a character that's mentioned in the play, but he's not actually there. Oh, but look at this! From 2019, Macbeth meets McDonald's in new musical. Have I ever wondered if Shakespeare's Macbeth would look like if it took it in the 1970s instead of the 11th century? A play about obesity, sugar, clowns, and happy meals. There you go. A legendary play is a tale that contains stoners, deer hunting, and French fries, based on the 2001 independent film Scotland, PA. Interesting. Oh, and instead of having 3 witches, it's 3 stoners. Got it. Fair enough. I did always think those fellows who had a bit of that devil's lettuce could see more than they were giving on. Fascinating. Give me a moment. I might just run to fulfill my duties upon my porcelain throne, just like Macbeth did not fill his duties on his. Do you want or not to want? Fries with that burger. No, wait. Is this a burger I see before me? They should have said it in McDonald's land. Oh dear, that sounds hellish, honestly. But give me a moment, I'll be back. You entertain yourselves. Talking about McDonald's and Macbeth. I'm back, everyone! Hello, Theo. I won't be here for a while because you know school and stuff. Oh, I see. Well, work hard, do your homework, and one day you'll be a functioning member of society. At least that's what they promise. Whether it happens or not, well, that really is up to chance, isn't it? School is for uncool losers. Oh, God. Not quite the sagely advice I'd expect from a man of your age, Tiberian. McDonald's Land was an ad campaign that ripped off a TV show named H.R. Huff and stuff. I really feel like I recognize it. Yeah, no, I think I've seen that. I do remember that. Does seem vaguely familiar. Probably terrifying as it sounds, though. Probably as terrifying as it sounds. It's the last of my tea. I really drank it fast this morning, goodness. School is where I turn into a fanboy. Oh dear. Truly, school is the melting pot for new ideas. Even if those ideas only exist to spite those older than them. If I remember, I'll share some images on Discord later. Fascinating stuff, really, all that. I'll share images too. The way you say that worries me for some reason, Banner. For some reason, that worries me. Yep. Must have gone to school at a Japanese dating sim. You know, I've not really played those Japanese dating simulators, you know? The sort of visual novels in general are a category of a game that I really haven't involved myself with much. My question exactly. Did you just find one on the side of the road? You are my child now, child. Or did you go through the natural process with the birds and the bees and all that sort of thing? Oh, yes. Either way, congratulations on your kidnapping and or natural birth. Good for you. Why is everyone... Alright. Well. Here's to a... I adopted her. Here's to a healthy life for the child. I suppose that's an option too. I don't know how I immediately went to kidnapping. But, you know. Goes to show. Bloody panda knives has been corrupting me. I tell you. Always think of the worst. You have someone that calls you, and do that now. That worries me for some reason, Panda. No offense to you, but I wouldn't leave you with a child if I would have been given $1 million to do so. I'm now Papa Theo. Now you're Lord Father Theo. What is that old phrase? I'm good with kids. Are you? School is where I learned how to kick someone's nuts, probably. Even though, ooh, very good. Yes, very exciting stuff. Exciting stuff. Goodness, everything's happening, isn't it? Oh, very exciting, Lord Theo. Very exciting. Lord Father Theo. That's a bad nickname, what does? I was trying to remember what they used to, because whenever somebody references old media, and they always try and make some sort of a fancy way of a noble calling their, you know, it's your Lord Theo. And so that whole, like, I think Japanese animation really like using it. How they translate the sort of official language, the sort of polite language. They translate it in the weirdest ways. And one of them, I think, is like Lord Father. I'm just taking it out of Lord Theo, parentheses, Father. Father, noble, philanthropist. But yes, you know, they always translate it really weirdly or localize it quite strangely. The sort of formal language that they believed was used back then, at least that's what they'd like. And they do translate it to like Lord Father or Noble Father or something like that. It's very strange, so... It wasn't me who came up. I can't claim to be the creator of such a lame title, Lord Theo. I was pulling it from somewhere else. I'm not that clever. Or not that lacking in cleverness, depending on your perspective, I suppose. Ugh. But if I said Father Theo, it just sounds like you're a priest, honestly. A very thin line between calling someone a father and calling someone a father. I suppose father isn't really a title, so... There is a difference. Excuse me. Damn phlegm. I've had enough of phlegm. I've started to lose my chain of thought. I need somebody to catch on. Come on, somebody give me a topic. Let's talk about something. I keep coughing. Rip. You and me both. Quick, give me a topic, somebody. Quick! Save me from my own lack of thoughts. I'm more thinking about if I'm going to mention something. Ever heard of Mario 64? Yes, I have heard about Mario 64. Are you asking if I've heard some particular news about Mario 64, or just asking if I've heard about the general concept of the video game called Mario 64? You could talk about your trip this time. Oh my goodness. Which trip? I've done so many. The only recent one that I've actually... I'm just busy these days. The general concept, I suppose. Fair enough. I thought you were going to mention there was going to be like a remake or something soon. Wash away the anger. Wash it all away. Now everyone breathe in. Gather that anger in a little ball in your solar plexus. I know you were making a reference to that video game, Revengeance. Play that again. We'll just play that again. But no. Oh, yeah, that's the one I was talking about before when I went to Queensland and was serving everyone's drinks. That was the one that I was talking about just before. But I did think, like, wash away the anger without it being in caps makes me think of somebody in, like, a yoga class or something. You're going, gather the anger in your solar plexus. Breathe in. Imagine your breath carrying the anger out of your mouth as you breathe out. That sort of thing. Now everyone's screaming about... You really like that monsoon one, right? That's the monsoons one, isn't it? But yeah, it's fascinating, love. On that trip you were mentioning, I did something called a hungy. We call it a hungy. Nothing like what an actual hungy is, I don't think. But I've got some pictures. I'm tired. Aren't we all, Panda? Aren't we all? Where are those pictures? I sent a lot of pictures. It's gonna take a while to download them all, so give me a moment. Dies from sleep. Gonna have to make a folder for this one. Oh, pardon. These pictures are provided by some of the family, some by me. But I'll get to him. Is this guy a boomer? Well, I haven't exploded recently, so I can't say I've been much of a boomer. Oh, that was awful. But I know that's something, a label I've been given. So, it is for you to decide. La fee he, la fee he. Man of the repetitive name. Right now, though, I'm about to start talking about how I cooked a heap of food in the ground. It was good fun. I dug a hole, started a fire, and cooked a heap of food in the ground. What's so funny? Well, I said a boomer, and I haven't exploded recently, you know? That's funny, isn't it? Excuse me. Yeah. Bloody annoying stuff, that phlegm, I swear. Do the next one. He's a bomb. Oh no! Oh dang, I forgot. JC, a bomb! Oh, JC, we miss you already. There was a better picture, wasn't there? There was a better picture, if I remember correctly. Nothing but the facts. I've got so many group chats this family has. Can't escape them. I'm now there. He's now there. Trying to find a certain picture of this hunger. I'm having difficulty finding it. Ah, this will do. I have to cut it out so you guys can't see all my family members' faces and immediately find who they are. Bit rude if I did that to them. Just full on, completely doxed my own family. Have you checked the game I recommended? I've looked at them. I haven't, of course, played them. Don't have much time these days to play out much of anything, honestly. I should open with this gimp. But yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. There's a lot of interesting things on that PlayStation 5, so I do want to use that while I've got it. The whole PlayStation 5 thing. Realize there's long periods of silence. Goodness. Probably sounds quite gross when I do that. It's the only way I can get out of the... Now I've been talking for a while, stuff is starting to come up from my lungs. All that positive pressure. Oh. Ah, crop, I think. Cropping. Yeah, I've looked at them. They seem interestingly enough. I'm just having a lot of trouble deciding on what games we're going to do next, honestly. Now, fit the canvas to... Fit canvas to layers. Export. There we are. There we are. Better. I'm almost there. I will explain this hungy, I swear. Maybe we'll have to change to the other image screen thing, but yes. Well, I'm talking about this hungy. It's a really interesting thing, and I've always loved the hungy in our family. It's a sort of meal we do where we bury a heap of food in the ground. After setting a fire and cooking it within the ground. It's very interesting stuff. It's pretty fascinating. I have a lot of... It's got to be like a bloody slideshow, honestly. It's like a bloody slideshow. I don't know if this will be entertaining to any of you, but me. I may be the only one actually entertained by this. But I still feel like I want to share it anyway. It is weird how it decides to order these photos in Facebook chat. What the bloody hell? Wow. That's bizarre. I do not understand how Facebook chat orders the photos you've sent. I'm getting very distracted by this. This is taking a lot longer than I was expecting, I'll admit. Yes. Oh, excuse me. Just give myself a bit of a stretch. Ugh. Ah, damn it, I've lost my train of thought. This is getting very difficult to maintain. My train of thought. We've got to that. Now we need to do the unburying part. Because I'm trying to order a heap of photos. So that when I click through them, you guys can see them, you know? 18. 19. Gonna see a lot of hand and feet here because they don't have any faces in them. I took them purposely so I could actually use them on screen. So there's a lot of hands and feet and lower bodies, but no faces. And no real identifying features. It looks like any other small beach town all along the coast of Queensland, so not too concerned about anyone finding anything. Now, to me, the food looks great. I don't know how you'll see the food. Doo-doo. Now, I finally made the whole damn thing. But yes, our family has a bit of a weird thing we do. The whole hungy thing is a bit of a strange tradition. So I'm going to change this image slideshow that I've got here to get rid of that. Add a directory. Hungy. Yes. Oh, goodness gracious me. See, the hungy, it's been something I've done for many, many, many years. We always used to do it at this beach. I don't know really who started it. None of us can remember why it started, or where the idea came from. It's very common amongst many of the, Pacific Islander cultures and sort of thing, this sort of style of cooking, sort of digging a big hole and burying something in it and letting it cook after setting a fire in the hole. It's certainly something that comes from around the area, but nobody in our family honestly knows where it came from, and I think we just heard of the idea once, years and years ago, and have slowly developed it over the years into our own unique form of history, culture. It's a sort of a bit of Winter's family culture for you, I suppose. Because I can't say it's very similar to, I don't know, I've never really actually honestly researched hungies. That much beyond the sort of surface level stuff of you set a fire, you use the coals, you bury the coals with some food next to it, and voila! You've cooked some food. We've sort of developed our sort of skill in it to do many things. And we used to only use, when I was much younger, when I was a young man, we used to only use sort of just the pots with no sort of foil, and then we used foil, and then we used pots and foil to try and keep the sand out. It was very sandy sometimes, because of course you were burying them, so you'd have to be really confident about your foil work. Sometimes we used camp ovens and stuff like that. It was very fascinating stuff. I'm going to first check that I haven't accidentally doxed anyone in these photos. One more run through these photos to make sure I haven't doxed anyone. There's a couple of reflections, but I don't think they're enough for you to be able to identify anyone, so it should be fine. A lot of feet. Can have some free feet pics, as they call them. This is actually just going to be me explaining everything to all of you. Maybe I should jump to a different screen. Maybe I should jump to... I realize the game is probably going to be on this screen, isn't it? Okay, it's not going to be. We're going to jump to this screen. Hello. We have 4 bags here in the US. Well, we probably had something like that here. We weren't the most efficient group of people, I'll admit. There we are. We're into the sitting room. This isn't gonna exactly work. Maybe for now I'll just, where's the border? Get rid of that. Just do this. Big screen. There we are. So essentially, I was gonna take a picture of the vegetables before it, but essentially we cut up a few things. Things you'd expect to be in roast vegetables. So, here we are. This is the start of the whole hungy process. We spend a time cutting a bug bust. It does sort of look like that, doesn't it? But essentially, in the middle of the table, as you can sort of see the remnants of, we get a heap of vegetables. We cut up large amounts of them. I actually cut up a lot of vegetables. Usually I help with the more physical labor part of it, like digging the hole and you know, moving the dirt and, you know, starting the fire and collecting the pumice and all that stuff. Before this, during the holiday, we would collect pumice, volcanic stone. It's a very bubbly volcanic stone. It's great. It's a great insulator, which is why we get it. So we collect some pumice. I'll show you a picture of pumice later, and we kind of collect that over the time. This time it was mostly directed by the young people in the family because they were missing it. A lot of them hadn't been able to do it for a significant portion of their life, and they really missed it. And so the young, you know, nieces and nephews and cousins and all that stuff, they were the ones taking really charge on this. So I was kind of helping where I can. I'm still pretty physically fit, so I helped here and there in a more physically place, but I helped a lot more with the foil stuff. Back in the day when I was younger, it used to be a very weirdly divided. It was very genderedly divided. You know, the ladies would cut the vegetables and put them into the foil and all that stuff, and the fellows would go out and dig a hole and start a fire. It was really strange how we just did that sort of thing. 3D face render. It's a lot of wedding bands. Well, these are all sort of the sisters and brothers and the nieces and nephews. The sisters and a lot of these are actually the ladies of the family. So we have my cousin, my sisters, and one of my nieces there, I think. And they're all married. So yes, a lot of wedding bands. And yeah, we were putting all the vegetables. So essentially, you wrap up all the vegetables. You cut them up into some fairly big pieces, and you wrap them all up. It's carrots, pumpkin, sweet potato, that sort of thing. You know, sweet potato, la-di-da-di-da, and some sort of green. So yes, a lot of wedding bands in that photo. I didn't actually realize it. You make a good point. But there are a lot of people in my family are married. Especially these days. I've been to a few weddings last year. That's gone to the completely wrong photo. Why do these things not order themselves like I want to? Why doesn't one just lead to two? Let's turn that off and try and... Did not lead to two. What is wrong with these things? I gave you the hungry pictures. Why'd you jump all the way to 10? They're all JPEGs, mate. Oh well, give me a moment. Wow, they are ordering themselves strangely. Okay, now they're ordered. Okay, are you gonna let me order it now? Goes by the first number. Oh, yes, it does, doesn't it? Oh, I've got it now. Just had to select them all now. This is just another view of it. See, they're wrapping up a sweet potato there. And then we also have meat. So I start with 0 for input into computers. You make a good point. So here we have a we usually do a meat with it. In this case, a lot of time we use large amounts of certain cuts. Usually cheap cuts we'd go for. The chicken looks clean. Well, it was bought from Coles or something like that. Woolies, actually. I can see it. Woolies. And so in this sort of thing, we would get thighs and drumsticks and that sort of thing. And a lot of cheaper cuts of it. Some of them were cheaper cuts. I think we went a bit nicer this time. But a lot of the time we'd get a lot of cheap cuts, usually with bone in them. And we'd cover them in a seasoning. A secret seasoning. We'd kind of marinate them all in a secret seasoning, and then we'd wrap them up as well. Those would eventually go into these pots. This is how we do it now. We used to just do it without the pots. I mean, before that, we used to do it with just aluminium foil, and before that we did it with just pots. Now we're doing it with both. And here it is. You kind of... I did all this stacking. Secret tunnel seasoning. And so this sort of thing is we kind of wrap it up, we season all of it, we put it in these things. These are the camp ovens. All of this is sort of to keep the sand out of it, honestly. It's a very difficult thing. And so we'd line all these pots up, we'd put them in, and I did all this. These pots are heavy. These pots are cast iron. They are bloody heavy, mate. Could kill a man with one of these very easily. And I did help carry a few of these. Couldn't stop myself. Had to carry them. But yes, and we essentially set them up, and eventually that looks like that. Now, we can't put them in each, but we didn't have enough pots this time to do one per thing, so the smaller pots at the end there are the meat ones. But the rest of them are sort of just mixed vegetables. The idea is to kind of fit them within the pot, so they can become sort of sealed. Also, the pots act as a very great conductor of heat, so they sort of keep the heat in a lot and allow the transfer of the coals to the actual fire itself. Speaking of, I believe the next fire. So this is sort of what it looks like in the first part of it. This is one of the steps, and while that is happening, the other step is this: a fire. We'll get up in the morning, we'll dig a big hole. This is the smallest tonguey hole we've had in a very long time, but it worked. And we start a fire. We collect lots of firewood from around the beach. We start a fire. Granted, if it was very windy and we didn't want to... It's very windy and dry, so we didn't want to wind, so we had to build a bit of a windbreak. You'll see it maybe in some of the photos. There's a bit of a windbreak behind this. Stop it from blowing stuff away. Granted, it was already there. Somebody had built a cubby on the beach, some sort of shed. And this is pumice. This is an important part. Underneath that fire I just showed you is pumice. And this is a volcanic stone of a sort. And it's very porous. It's got a lot of bubbles in it. Very aerated. They're very light for what they look like. They look like pieces of concrete, but they're actually quite light. And what they act as is an insulation. They're very good. Because they're so full of air, it's actually very difficult to transfer heat through them. So it kind of it acts as an insulation between the inside and the outside. So we lay them across the bottom of the pit, so that when the fire heats up, and when we cook them, the sort of cold water that sits under, the sort of cold sand doesn't actually cool the coals down too quickly. There's sort of a insulating layer. They hold in the heat very well. It's very nice. But yes, we have a whole fire. Then we finish the fire, we have coals. We put all the camp ovens into the coals, and then cover them with coals. This is all just after the fire's burnt down to cinders. We let the fire burn down to cinders. So it has to start quite early in the morning, because we need to get a lot of coals. This time we had to fight with some children filling our hole in when we weren't looking. It was very annoying. Bloody teenagers, I swear, thinking they own the place. This is all very factual. It's not. I realise I'm not doing very fun with it. But yes, this is very interesting stuff for me. But yes, it's how I do it. I suppose this is how I did the cooking stream, honestly. You see a few people, we, bury all these things, and then we cover them in banana leaves, of all things. We go hunting old banana trees in the woods. Because it's very tropical where we were. It's very tropical where this beach is. So we went hunting for banana leaves. Helps keep some moisture in. Also keeps the sand away from it, sort of thing. The heat in the water. No, go on. Fair enough, thank you. But so the banana leaves are fairly interesting. They started at some point, and it's about creating layers, and the water in the banana leaves also acts as a very good way to keep the heat in. Sort of keeps it wet. Heats up. Steams the thing. Stops the sand from getting in. These are all just layers and layers of things that are there to sort of keep heat in, keep moisture in. Because it can get dry, it's sand. Sand can absorb water quite well. So this is to keep sort of the heat in, part of this, the heat in, and then we cover it in a sheet. Actually, wrapping pork shoulders and banana leaves and cooking them in pits. Yes, well the banana leaves are acting more of an insulator or a moisture barrier. In a way. Because they're nowhere near the food. The food's currently in 3 layers, but the food's in alfoil, in pots, under coals, then the banana leaves, then a wet blanket, which is the damp blanket, which is that. Then we bury it. We've put, on the bottom, on the very bottom, is a piece of aluminium, and on the very top is a piece of... This was just a flash of inspiration we had this time. The aluminium, we've decided this is corrugated iron, actually. Corrugated iron. We've been using it to... This time we used this as a new thing. We don't usually do this. Was to sort of reflect the heat back. We were hoping there would be some radiation. Would be reflected back by the metal. thinking scientifically about this. And then we buried it. And then you leave it there for about 6 hours. You just leave it, and we kept an eye. So there was one person doing shifts. At this point, we all went and had lunch. One person stayed, and then somebody came back and took over that person, watched the whole. I was sitting there reading a book most of the time, after having my lunch. And we leave it there. It's just essentially like cooking in an oven. That is the oven. We've used the hot coals and pumice to keep as much of the heat in the aluminium and the banana leaves and the sheets to keep as much of the heat in as possible. It gets really hot in there. And the sand is wonderful, because we usually do this during winter. This is a winter thing for us, because we would always travel to this family retreat, I suppose, in winter. What were you reading? I was reading... I think I was rereading Redemption of Althalos by Eddings. David and Lee Eddings. That's what I was reading. I was also listening to a few things. I was listening to, once I got bored of the reading, it was a few hours, so I read for a couple of hours, and then I pulled out my phone with some podcasts on it and listened to a few horror story collections from Kawabana. Some Japanese horror. Japanese internet horror, I suppose, is more specific. But yes, I listened to some Kawabana. And then I didn't read the whole time, sometimes. And I'd say about a third of the time I was reading and listening to Kawabana, and then the other few hours I was talking to whoever was next to me, watching the fire with me. We were sitting there, chatting with each other about various things, talking about what I was planning to do next year, what they were planning to do next year, what jobs they had gotten. One of my nieces was quite a successful private tutor, doing engineering, very fascinating stuff. So essentially I was catching up with a lot of people that I hadn't been able to talk to. One of my nephews, who I haven't seen in a very long time. It was a good time to watch your favourite VTubers, yes. Actually, funnily enough, here's a funny thing. On this beach, it's quite remote, so in the actual town area, so a bit behind this picture, there's the actual little village that we were in. It's a very tiny little town, is a charitable way to describe it. It's definitely barely a village. You know, like a dozen houses or so. It's right next to another beach town with a dozen houses or so. But in the town itself, it's surrounded by like hills. There's no signal. You can't get any data, you can barely call anyone from the actual town, but there is signal from the beach, because it's in a cove of sorts. And in the distance across the water, there is a radio tower quite far away, but like a signal tower for phones, like a mobile tower. It's quite far away. So on the beach is the only place you have signal in this place. It's hilarious. You wouldn't want to be spending much of your time there without the windbreak, because it's cold on that place. Oh, there's a few places hidden by rocks, I suppose, you could probably hide. But yes, should have probably sat down and watched them. We did talk about VTubers a bit, because of course most of my family know I'm doing this whole VTuber business, so I talked with my relatives about it. They talked about some of the favourite moments they had from my various streams, because not a lot of them talk, but a lot of them do pop in occasionally. So they've mentioned things there. A lot of them enjoy some of the more strange things. A lot of them enjoyed my New Year's streams, and where I was making various horrifying creations, and that they really enjoyed me making the celebration stream and the cooking streams. They quite enjoyed, but I hadn't done them yet. Or did I do them yet? I can't remember. Point is, there was a lot of things to talk about, and they had their lives to talk about too, what jobs they were doing, where they were working. You know, I hadn't talked to these people in quite some time. But yes, that's what was happening while we were buried. It was buried in front of us. Quite nice too. My VTubers, and I prefer to keep it like that. Ah, well, I'm quite close with a great deal of my family. We're quite a tribe, I suppose. We all have our faults and flaws, but ultimately we're quite close to each other. Yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. Redemption of Althalos is a good book. You should read it. It's very fun. Very witty. What's the next picture? Oh yes, this is unburying it. And so when we're unburying it, we just unbury it. We simply go up, and we don't keep as much sand out, so these sheets were able to keep us from, so that we could kind of roll them back so we could get the sand off things. Check out what the banana leaves look like now. Remember before, they were very green. But yeah, look how green they were. And wonderful and plump. But now, after sitting in the ground for a long time, they become these sort of... They look cooked, honestly. Look quite interesting. Kind of become flattened and quite damp. And you can see, this is the greatest thing about this. Because it's winter during this time, the sand is so warm by the end of this process. It's really nice. Because a lot of us are barefoot in this quite cold wind that comes off the beach in this area. Because it's a flat thing that was just, you know, right perfect for the wind. Especially when we were there that time. Just so windy. It's an amazing beach, though. Flat as far as the eye can see. When the tide goes out, it disappears across the horizon. It's ridiculous. Looks like there's a tsunami every time the beach water goes out. Who's the other one who's not an anime character? That's true. That's true. Thank you. I'll take the compliment, I suppose. And it is true. I'd imagine if a lot of my family weren't so, you know... Well, it was my family who got me into this, so it was a bit... And I chose this sort of thing because this is what I prefer. You know, I'd have liked to have a very anime aesthetic, but nobody does anime, old man. I feel slighted. I feel as if I am some sort of minority. It's very upsetting. Why are all these people who like beautiful young men not making old men? It's a travesty, I tell you. It's almost like they're looking for something particular. But yes, back to this. This is just the unbearing process. It just looks very fascinating to see it. There it is. There's some more feet in a glove. Because all of this is incredibly hot at this point. It's very, very hot. And we actually had to do a bit of engineering. We got a stick. A very powerful stick. And we got a metal loop, a metal piece of wire. And made a hook out of it. And we use that to hook everything out, like fish it out. And that's the hole left behind with the pumice in the bottom there. The grey bits there. Could have found one that looks like a demon yarn or something. Ah. And I think I skipped a few things there. Did I not get everything there? Okay, we skipped that. Why is there a floating sock? It's actually... a reference to the beginning of this channel, Ayakura. It's attached to a mic stand, because before I've got the microphone I had that. Yeah, there are hooks specifically for that, but we weren't smart enough to have one, Tiberian. But, there's the microphone stand. I'll put it in a place where you can more easily see it. Before, I used to use an old Shure SM58 on a microphone stand, and how I sort of got it to work, my pop filter was just a sock, or two socks that I put over the microphone. Because there was no filter. So yes, that's why I'm being haunted by a sock. Because that's what I did for most of this channel until very recently when I bought this Shure microphone, which comes with its own thing. It's a real shame. I miss the old sock. But yes, how are you doing anyway? Akamura? Okay, nice. Yes, it came from my MacGyver audio setup. Because a sock, hey, if you need to get one, it works as a real good audio thing. If you've got one of those older microphones. But yes, this is what it started looking at. We put it back in the ute, actually. One of my older nephews. Or more like a nephew-in-law, but he brought his ute down to the old... Well, he's put a ute down to the beach, four-wheel drive thing, backed it up, we pulled them out of the hole, put them back into the ute because we weren't carrying them. God, they were heavy. And this is us unpacking them. This is the unboxing, or the unfoiling of the hungy food. And in the end, this is what it looks like. By the end of it, oh, the chicken was just delicious. Falling off the bone, like a slow-cooked meal. Everything was so delicate and beautiful. I loved it. And then, this is me kind of arranging it into place to look a bit nicer, but it was spectacular. Sometimes you had some chicken that looked a bit more like the chicken in that previous photo. And then sometimes you had this real crispy stuff. I like the stuff that looked like this. The sort of darker, crispier. Oh, it was beautiful. Ah, goodness. I'm already getting hungry just thinking about it. What a revolution. What do you season the chicken with? It was a mix of sort of a French onion seasoning with a few other things. French onion was like the sort of French onion seasoning with one of the main parts of it. It was like a marinade made out of French onion and that sort of thing. I think we literally used French onion soup powder originally. I don't know if we did that this year, but yes, I think we used to use like the French onion soup powdering, and we would make that into a seasoning, like a marinade, mixed with a few other things. And oh, it's just spectacular. Falls off the bone, it's so easy. In fact, it's so cooked, the chicken bones themselves are actually edible. They're softened to the point where you can actually chew through them. Granted, I wouldn't suggest doing it too many times. A number of my relatives have chipped teeth or broken teeth on chicken bones. So, do be warned if you try it yourself. Is there left to share with the chat? Sorry. We all ate it. Oh, it was beautiful though. We did it just... I think it was the second last day before. I wouldn't have guessed you had that stuff there. What, French onion soup? Or hungers in general. Bearing things in a hole. I don't know if it's changed. The seasoning for the... I think originally we just seasoned it with salt and pepper, and over the time we've... This is a meal. This specific way of making this meal has been a work in progress for 4 or 5 decades. This is a very old tradition. This is very old in our family. It's been... this recipe, this sort of process, this tradition is likely older than many of you. It's a soup mix. Yeah, use of seasoning here too, yes. I don't know when we introduced the thing is, we've been doing it for so long, it all blends into each other. I went to this beach for year after year, every year for decades, so it just changed naturally over time. As people grew up, people learned new things. In our family, you know, we had trained chefs in our family, and we had... It's just something that's evolved. I can't even remember what it used to be like when I was younger. Because when I think of it, I think of this. The most recent form. The most recent incarnation. It's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. When I was a young man, quite a young man actually, when we went to this beach, we used to make folklore of our own. Our family used to have folklore. I was talking about that with some of my brothers and sisters and cousins. We talked about how when we were younger we used to travel through the bush around the beach, and we'd find things and we'd give them names. I think, you know, like, you know, the Giant's Chair, very Celtic sort of sounding names. Giant's Chair, the Fairy's Cave, the Hermit's Hole. You know, the chapel, the rock chapel and the sort of things like that. I think there was a place called like the Devil's Chair as well. We used to make folklore about this place. It's fascinating looking back on it like an anthropological sort of look, because just in our family, within my cousins and my nieces and nephews as they got older, this beach became sort of a location of mystery and stories, and it's just very interesting how those things grow, isn't it? You know, in the bushes, in places we never found again. We found them one year as young men and women and never saw them again. We'd give them, you know, they almost gained mythical status. Even though it's a small amount of bush we travelled, we were young. We never travelled that far. Yeah, even now we still remember all these stories we used to tell. Knights and dragons and all these sort of thing. Fascinating stuff, isn't it, though? Fascinating stuff. Ah, getting nostalgic now. I can't do as much climbing these days, though. I did try a bit this year. Still fit enough to sort of climb some of the rocks. They're very gentle, though. But mostly I did walks. Long walks up and down the place. Oh! Gave me a fright. Thank you, Amakura! Thank you, Akamura! You've signed up for getting your ear talked off. Specifically this time. About the history. Yeah, old French onion soup. Good stuff, though. Good stuff. I just realised we had no greens in this. And no sand in it this time. We did pretty well. We don't know sand in it. So no crunchy parts except for the chicken bones. Yes, welcome, welcome, welcome to become one of the lads, lasses, and non-binary folk. Very good. Oh, still very tiring. Yes, how'd you all like that, eh? Anyone have fans? Do you have anyone here have any of those sort of old traditions? I saw the beginning of this particular tradition in my family, but I imagine it'll continue far after I'm dead and gone. Some Brussels sprouts would have been good in there, yes. I imagine it is, but great number of the people my age in the family have a lot of bad memories of Brussels sprouts. I'm particularly okay with them, but I know many of my siblings and cousins, their relationship with Brussels sprouts is probably in the category of unresolved trauma. Not really, my family doesn't move stuff together. Yes, I suppose. It's a... I don't know if it's my family's particular way of doing things. We are very much styled like a rural family that spread itself across the continent. We're all over Australia, my family, but we still seem to maintain that sort of rural family closeness. Where you are... where no matter how many years or months it is you haven't seen each other, when you come together, it's like you've been talking to each other every day. That's why I feel I never really had many friends when I was younger, because ultimately, with my 6 siblings, and then eventually all the children they had, I had really no need for more friends. I had enough in my own family. And I was content with that. So our family is close, certainly. Traditional, old-style family where if we were in a different era, we'd all be living in one place. But like many Australians, we all have wanderlust. We want to travel, we want to move, we want to go elsewhere. And yet we still come back. Driving 12 hours, 14 hours, 15, 16 hours, even 2 days to... 2 driving days to get to these places sometimes. I remember some long trips when I was younger. Very long trips cross-country. You know, you couldn't really take flights back then as much, especially with such a large family, and such little money in our family. We still do it. We still do it. Like that, we never got together for anything. Well, I feel like one side of my... This is all done mostly with... Well, I should specify, this is done with my mother's side. This is my mother's side, my mother's sisters, and my cousins on my mother's side. My father's side is less like this. Far less like this. They're smaller, there's less of them on my father's side, and also they got together every few years for a family reunion. But beyond that, I didn't feel as close to them as I felt to my mother's side. They were all rural, though, and I think my father's side were all city for many of their generations. My sister was only about 10 years ago. So, it's sort of different. You had sort of these city dwellers on my father's side who didn't have that closeness, but then you had my mother's side who had cane farms and all this stuff in rural North Queensland. So I felt it's all of this sort of stuff is almost exclusively on my mother's side, so funny how that is. Parents both has 3 sisters and 1 brother. Well, my father's got a few brothers, and it's really funny. My father's side, he only has brothers, and on my mother's side, she only has sisters. They came together and made a family of 3 sons and 4 sisters. It's almost like magic. A family with 3 sons and 4 daughters came together and made another family of 3 sons and 4 daughters. I actually honestly never realized that. That just mildly blew me away. That mildly blew my mind. That's magical, almost. That is magical. Huh. That's just... How have I never realized this before? That's amazing. I'm flabbergasted that I didn't notice that before. That's... Oh my goodness. That's really blown me away. Oh my god. How have I never... 3 brothers, 3 sons, 4 daughters, become a family of 3 sons, 4 daughters. That's... It's a why did you say Martha moment. I suppose, yes. That movie was terrible. I can barely remember it, except for anything about it except for that. But yeah, honestly, that's just blown me away. How have I not made that connection before? So many decades on this planet, and I've not noticed that. Oh my god. I'm really happy about that, honestly. That's great. That's amazing. In all honesty, that's really thrown me for a loop. Dumbfounded. Is there any more pictures of us? No, that's back to the beginning. We'll close that. But yes, amazing. So maybe I'll just jump to the nighttime chat screen. Oop, no, that's the gaming chat. There we are. Oop, now the music started again. I'll throw today's drink up. But there you go, eh? Good bloody god, eh? Ah! Ah! Amazing. Oh, somebody liked my, We're 30 minutes in, and I forgot somebody liked the, we're 30 minutes in, and I forgot we're going to be playing a game. It was a good chat, yeah. Well, I'm just going to this, just because I've not got anything to show, so I don't need it. Don't worry, we're not finishing yet. We can go for another 15 minutes. Give you a bit more time. We can chat for a bit longer. But yes. Don't worry, we'll just be jumping to this. We're not finishing yet. This usually does mean we're finishing, but yeah. I'm just thinking about what I'm going to talk about. I'm wondering if I should... I've been vaguely mentioning this thing that I'll be doing next year. And I still won't be specific about it. But I feel like I want to talk about it a bit. Recently, you've probably noticed that I've started having a lot less time. I had a lot of time. I did stop working for quite a while. Living on savings, you know, living in retirement, I suppose. Living in retirement. But recently I've gotten busy again because I used the power of friendship and nepotism. Not quite nepotism, but close enough. To get myself another job. And it's an old mate of mine who always needed some work and so 15 minutes, I have to go in 18 minutes. I said 50, because it'll be 3 hours, but we can finish in 15. Let me finish what I'll kind of mention what I'm doing. But yes, I've been working a lot, because I've realised the savings, sort of the retirement fund that I have, isn't going to be enough for what I want to do. And then I came up with a fascinating idea, and I won't mention what the fascinating idea is, but essentially I should probably just stop beating around it, but next year, early in the year, I'll be heading over to Japan. For a year, I think. Yes, as an old man, I know it's surprising that I'd be doing something so risky, but that's what I said at the beginning of this channel. I really want to try new things, go out of my way to really experience new stuff, and I didn't think I'd be able to pull it off at my age. But I did meet an old friend who has a stake in, well, not a stake, but a part in a company over there that. And when I talked about it with him, he said, oh, well, you know, you have a certain set of skills we could use. You've learned as a teacher before, and you've done training for people, so why not work in a professional capacity over in Japan? That'll give you what you want, you know. We always need some yearly contractor sort of people, so I took him up on it. The Japanese season. You're not going to invest your life saving into crypto? No, I'm not. The Japanese season, yes. It'll be the new era of the Eric Winters channel. Eric Winters, old man in Japan. And so I've wandered over, and now he unfortunately wasn't able to guarantee me a job, so I did have to, you know, apply like every other person to this company when their application came out. And recently, the advantage I had is he told me immediately, like, as soon as he could, when they were actually going to be hiring. So he gave me an email. I was like, we're hiring now. Send in your stuff now. So it'd been a very long time since I'd had to write a proper resume and do interviews. It was spectacular. And then recently, you know, I had that exciting stream when I'd gotten COVID. They were, shouldn't invest in crypto. Yes, shouldn't invest in crypto. There are more reasonable investments to go with. And sometimes more healthy investments that may actually help the future of the planet. Always look where your super's going, everyone, in Australia. At least, if you've got a superannuation, make sure you know where it's going. Take a superannuation that actually might give you money by the end of it. And not collapse into a heap. But yeah, so... next year I'll be heading over. It's just something I feel like I should have mentioned. Because I'm going to be talking about it a lot. But yes, I'll be heading over to Japan. I'll be working in a training role like I had experience in before. And it'll be very interesting. It'll be very fascinating to work in that sort of that country. It's why I've been so intensely learning Japanese. And it's also why I've picked up a job again. I've come out of retirement because I want to have as much money as I can by the time I get over there. Because I don't know what expenses may come my way. I'm gonna have to buy a whole new car. Not a new car, probably. I'll probably get an old beater. Old box of bolts. But it's, yeah, very interesting stuff, and I'm very excited. I've been going towards this for quite a number. I've probably mentioned it before, honestly, but I've been aiming for this before I even started this YouTube channel. It's been a goal for a while. So, you know, I wasn't doing much many years ago. Essentially, I felt lost without a goal in my old age. So, this was the eventuation of that goal. Because he said he couldn't quite get me into this old friend of mine. Oh, bigger gun is he's a pain. Because their rules are very strict. And, well, more to the fact I need to have some fairly good amount of money over there to be able to operate a car. And so, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But yes, it's been an eventuation of about a 3-4 year plan. I've been doing a fair few things because I knew that old mate, and he said, yeah, it's quite possible, you just need this. He's like, age is not too much of a factor, we do like younger people, but if you can convince us. And so I had to go pick up another qualification. Which is why it took so long. I had to pick up another qualification through a university. Going back to university after a long time was very interesting too. Weird to get back into writing academically, and writing assignments at all was horrible. So you must have a great amount of money when moving to another country. Yes, that's what I've been. The yen's quite weak now, so, you know, it's looking good for me. I'm hoping it stays quite weak next year too. So my Aussie dollar is good. That, or I'll have to get an international card and transfer it to yen when it's very weak, so I can buy up some yen. And yes, I've also heard Japanese banks are terrible. I've also heard just generally a lot of the bureaucracy around living there is terrible. And, you know, that's part of the experience for me. It's part of the challenge, I suppose. He is of the Winter Line. They've been wealthy for many generations, yes. So wealthy that a retired man had to come out of retirement just so he could afford to go to another country. So wealthy, truly. But, you know, being the rulers of winter isn't a very, it's not a very, what is the word for it? Well-paid job, I suppose. You know, my name, Eric Winters, does mean ruler of winter. There's a very dramatic name that my parents gave me for you. Rules of winter. And the rules of winter. Not quite as epic, but, you know, close enough. Sort of a step away from rules of nature. It's specifically about winter now. The rules of winter. Hibernate or die. At least if you're a bear. Gonna keep streaming in Japan? Of course I am. I think I'll have time off often. It's a full-time job, so it'll be a 5-day week sort of shenanigans, and it'll be... Well, the load will be quite... So he's warned me that it's gonna be quite a heavy load if I'm not careful. Because he works in the... not recruitment, he works sort of in another part of it, the old maid I know. I was surprised, very surprised when I actually pulled it off. I was very surprised they hired an old maid like me. Unfortunately, the guy I knew wasn't quite high enough in the company to be able to get me through nepotism with the power of nepotism, but yes, it'll be a 4 or 5 day a week sort of shenanigans. Training people in English, actually. And I could have a lot of load, depending on what time of the year it is. It could be quite heavy load, be quite light load, it really depends. At least it's a consistent salary, though. It's not, like, based on the hours you do and sort of thing. It's all well, you do that, and it has. It's a salary. I am a salary man in a way, because it is salary. Also, it's strange. They pay once a month there. Almost all the jobs I've had pay either every week or paid every 2 weeks. Once a month was very uncommon. I had a few jobs, I suppose, back in the day when it was easier to give out pay once a month. But fascinating stuff, once a month. Mostly cash still, too, over there. I don't think my pay will be in cash. That would be very funny if it was. Walking up with an envelope to me, giving me some sort of thing. But yes, it'll be very interesting. And so I'll have some time off each week. Well, just like now. Honestly, now I'll probably be less tired than what I'm doing now, because in this whole process, I called up an old mate of mine and went, oh, you know, you're always looking for people. And he's like, oh, yeah. I worked with this fellow years and years ago, and I met with him recently, and I know he was still running the same company, so I gave him a call up and asked if he's had any positions going, and he did. And this is a very physically taxing job, honestly. I'm glad I've kept myself relatively fit, because, God, my bones are aching this job, but I have 2 days off every week for this job as well. So, that's why I haven't only been able to do 2 streams a week. But it pays well. Very well, in fact. It's the power of having previous experience, I suppose. It's not a very high-level job, though, this. It's pretty low-level. Plenty of you have probably worked in it. But yeah, it's going to be good. And so I'll probably keep up streaming. That's why I mentioned I'll probably be buying a laptop for that. I don't think I'll be able to get my computer over there very easily, and I might pull the curtain back a bit for my streams when I'm over there. Talk about what I've found in my local area and what I've discovered about the local people and that sort of thing. So I may end up very much, what is the word for it? Doxing myself at some point. And the curtain will be fully revealed at that point. But who knows? Who knows? Who knows if I'll ever truly pull back this curtain? I do quite like my privacy. Yeah, so we probably off a laptop. It might be a lot more just chatting sort of things while I'm over there. Games may take a back seat until I figure out how to get some of the stuff over there. Because it'll be pretty difficult to get most of my equipment. I might be able to bring my mic and my box, but I wouldn't be able to probably bring my stand very easily without it being very expensive. And the computer is... There's no way that bloody thing's getting over without old man doctors in Japan, because you say the Japanese can't understand Australian. That's one thing I'm worried about. I do have quite a thick accent of a kind, but I also have an advantage, is that everyone thinks I'm British. So they'll all probably think, oh, there's a lot of perceptions about different accents. And so the British accent is seen, especially this type of refined accent, as you'd call it, or educated sounding accent, would probably do me a good job if everyone going, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. So I might be able to convince some of my students to actually listen to me. Well, they're all adults, they have to do it themselves. And it might not also be, it depends. It's very interesting, really. It sounds like British over there. Granted, American accents are more common to be taught in Japan, of course. The American accent's probably the most common. And I think in a lot of the teaching positions over there, they, I think in one of the major teaching companies for high schools, JET, which is something I considered, but they unfortunately, they, don't take anyone over 30, that company. So, I was never having a chance with them. I did apply, anyway, because why not? But I didn't get it. This other company was a bit more open. But it was, you know, it was a difference. I applied for my friend's company in the end, but, you know, I tried for the other ones, because the other ones have more benefits, honestly. Less expensive. But couldn't get to that one, because they like young people. But what was I thinking about? Yes. Americans are very common, and I think through that JET program, the Japan Exchange Teacher Program, which is mostly high schools, I believe. High school English teaching. The Americans get half of all positions available in the country, so... Like, through some trade deal. Alicia was taught in proper RP RP interest. You guys know what he's talking about. Eric made himself pink while saying Poyo repeatedly. Poyo. Ah, yes. This is the present perfect form, Poyo. Very good. So, interesting that. Where is Alicia from? Is she Australian too, or is she from somewhere else? Because RP interest, I don't think it's been taught in Australia for many years. Good old received pronunciation. It hasn't been in Australia for quite a while, from what I know. Argentina! Ah! Yeah, that makes sense. That does make more sense. I don't think received is taught in Japan anymore. I think it's mostly, well, granted, sorry for the Japanese, and I hope nobody hears this, but from all the study I did on the Japanese education system, both in English, because English was the easiest way to get over there. Honestly, it came out of a desire, and I'll admit that, it came out of a desire of, I'd already had teaching experience, and I love explaining things to people. So it was something I already knew I had a passion for, and then I thought I'd also have a passion for Japan. So I wonder if I could mix these two in my old age and actually get to do something. You know, something exciting, something that I never felt I had the courage to do when I was a young man. You know, don't always have that many years, so, you know, got to use them where I can. So it came out of a sort of desire to really push myself. Keep pushing myself, you know? And hey, it seems to have succeeded. I'm kind of terrified to mention this sort of thing, because I'm always worried about, you know, social media is a weird thing that didn't really exist with a lot of my jobs. It was very difficult to lose a job or a position or an opportunity back when I was a younger man, because you didn't have... Eric's is the world's oldest weeb. I'm not the only one. I think you'd find a lot of people. Yeah, granted, the war did skew a lot of people's image of Japan, but a lot of us still just felt bad for them in the end. And anyway, most of my family fought. The family members that I had that fought in the war back then didn't fight in the Pacific Theater. Most of them fought over in the European theater. Funnily enough. Very strange, that. But, you know, they've changed their image a lot since then. So in class, I'm going to teach you how to properly mug someone in Australia. It's a cultural exchange. When you are on a train station and someone asks you for a cigarette, you have two choices. Either say, oh, politely refuse, or politely refuse and get violently mugged. That's your two choices. How do you know which one you're choosing when you politely refuse? Well, you know, you can listen to their accent and usually get an indication. If they're walking around like, yo, mate, come on, got us a ciggy by, eh? Then you're probably going to die. Just start running. But yeah, it's fascinating stuff. Really, it's a fascinating country, though. It is a fascinating country. It's amazing how much I realized that, a lot of my nieces and nephews are now what you'd describe as weebs as well. And honestly, I think it's half their fault that I'm more into it these days than I was when I was a younger man. I really found those sort of... When I was a younger man, I was fascinated by, Chinese history and Tibetan history and those sort of... I guess it came from the fact I was looking at other religions from a purely... Because I had a mother who studied religion. And, I had two parents that were both pastors. And so a lot of it came from sort of a place of history, studying of history and religion. It also was inspired by a teacher I had once that was a spectacular history teacher. And he really stoked my passion for history, and those countries are the histories I found the most fascinating. Chinese classics like Romance of the Three Kingdoms and all that sort of thing. Musashi's The Five Rings, all very weeb-like. It's all very fascinating stuff. Philosophy and all that kind of stuff. Seeing other religions and cultures and ways of doing things couldn't be more different from how I was raised, And ultimately said the same thing. Be a good person. Except the Buddhists who say, detach yourself from the world. What happened while I was gone? Well, I discovered I could make them follow me. So, that's what happened. And we're just talking about what I was doing next year. When I was very excited a few weeks back, and I was mentioning something I was so excited about. is that I was going to Japan to actually work professionally for a while. So next year, it'll be an old man in Japan. Speaking of, that's a really good show if you want to watch it. I mean, it's on Amazon Prime. James May's A Man in Japan. Really good. I really enjoyed it. Didn't really feel like those old... The sort of travel shows that I had to deal with. They were very rare and few and far between. There were more travel log booklets. Mr. Eric Winter's Law Dump, yes. But there was a sort of travel log sort of things. Also, I'm not strange for reading the description. Ah! You did see that. That's why I said no offense. I said sorry. I already apologize. But I knew you would read it. That's why I put that in there. That was very good. I'm glad you did read it before I changed it. But yes, fascinating stuff. I did have a fascination for a lot of the Eastern cultures. I suppose when I was younger, they did call them Oriental cultures. And when I was younger, I actually watched a performance of a play called Madame Butterfly, which is a really tragic play. I'm the only person on earth who reads the description, I swear. Let me get... I remember in the rural town I was in, there was a performance of Madame Butterfly put on that was based on the really tragic thing. It's a really tragic story. Give me a go, get the booklet. I still have the old booklet. Ugh. There it is. Back in the 70s. Booklet from the 70s. I went and watched a rural town. I think it was Innisfail. Yeah, North Queensland Conservatorium of Music. Put on a play of Innisfail, and some of my family were involved in it, I think. And it was great. Transmission ever. Yeah, yes, I did. Oh look, Ansett. Oh dear. We do not see many Ansett anymore. But, yes, it's an interesting one. I don't know who wrote it. Who did write Madame Butterfly, I wonder? It's all advertising in this. This is a big booklet, and it has all this advertising about it. And I watched it. It was very fascinating. Very fascinating. Some cousins were involved in this one. Very good. Yes, this is about, Madame Butterfly, sort of like a geisha who is... It's a tragedy. I think eventually, so she falls in love with an American man. Then he leaves after them becoming... They had, a family, and she has a son, and they live. It's... There's no trumpet error, so I may also put something back. But yes, it's a very fascinating one. I remember that's one of the first times I was like, wow, fascinating stuff. Very good performance of it, though. Granted, it was back in the day where I don't think there were many Asian performers as the characters in this. Granted, it was a rural performance of a play, so you can't really expect it to be that full of diversity. Especially back then. Very different. Very different. Ooh. There's an advertisement for Qantas. Yeah. Only Qantas flies 747s to Hong Kong. There you go, there's an old ad. First class lounge, Qantas. Oh, look at those planes. Oh, God. About to hit 140 subscribers, yes, I know. Oh, my goodness. Oh, this is nostalgic. Look at the inside of that plane. Not a seatbelt in sight in this plane. These are some real old planes. Oh, drink Australian Nerada tea. Visit Australia's only tea plantation and factory. It's changed so much. It has changed so much. Oh, Narada tea is being supplied for all efficient functions at the conservatorium and is a full-flavoured aromatic tea with a noble liqueur and rich fragrance that makes one of the finest teas available in Australia. Oh, God, this is all so nostalgic. Back when it could claim Australia's only tea plantation and factory. It was such a different time back in the 70s. Oop. Part of our AWA, part of our family. Oh, car stereos and cassettes, everyone. Hey, the book's okay. These are mistletoes and chat, yes. Look, this book is advertising some air conditioning, everyone. Some car stereo cassettes. Car radio and cassettes, ooh. There you go. There's Ansett Airlines, which doesn't exist anymore. I'm pretty sure they went out of business a long time ago. Poor old Ansett. Only Qantas is still around now, I think. Absolute tragedy. But it's a very depressing play. Yeah, see you later, Tiberian. But yes, it's, Battle Butterfly was a tragic play. Very sad, very sad. About the callousness of some people. Yes, oh, the advertising, this is half the fun. I should really scan this and show you all these advertisements. Ooh, the MV Friendship. Ooh, a Barrier Reef cruise. A motel walkabout. I wonder if this theatre is even around. I haven't been to Innisfail in a very long time. I'm getting distracted reading this. Fascinating stuff, though. Fascinating stuff. But yes, next year will be exciting. It'll be very exciting. Not as exciting as planes that had no seatbelts, but just essentially those empty things that had like essentially they put those the first class lounge of that plane didn't have many seats. It just had leather lounges bolted to the floor. Living the life, living the high life. I didn't really fly planes back then. Granted, they weren't really as accessible as these days. Mostly driving for up in the old beater and the old vans. Good stuff though. Traveling hours and hours and hours. Cross country, across the desert and the inland seas. It's all very dramatic. Across the Great Barrier Range. Off winding highways. It's all so straight these days. Sort of miss the winding roads through the countryside back in the day. Sort of miss it with all these nice, efficient highways. Next year will be interesting. My country has elections, so madness will be everywhere. Yes, I suppose it will be interesting for you. It'll be even more interesting for me. Get ready for me to take a lot of photos next year. Show off the stuff I've done. What I'm doing and talking about it. I'll be very careful, though. I know I'm not very big, but I don't want to blow up and accidentally say something I shouldn't. That's the worrying thing about these positions. There is a level of privacy they want. So, you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. Again, it's not something I'd have had to deal with when I was younger. Social media was not around, so you couldn't very easily proclaim to the whole world something stupid and lose your job because of it. Very frightening, honestly. I don't understand how you young people deal with it. The fact that you can say something on Facebook and lose it. Big in Japan tonight? Big in Japan. It'll be very interesting. And maybe I'll be able to expand my audience, everyone. If I get good enough at Japanese while over there, maybe I can use it on stream. And start talking in Japanese. And I'll start getting that Japanese audience down. Maybe I'll be able to find some more... they're really into VTubers. Probably get them. Get some Japanese people around here. Get a new audience. Expand my horizons. Ow. God. You never know. I hear those VTuber companies really like people who can speak Japanese. So maybe after I finish up a job over in Japan, I'll apply for one of those VTuber companies. Become a world-famous geriatric VTuber. Or maybe they'll like, oh, you sound too angelic. You should play a young person. They'll give me a new model where I'm a young person. Who knows? We'll see, won't we? So many opportunities. It's quite exciting, honestly. It'll be fine. Gotta say it. Twitter drama. Well, good thing I don't barely use Twitter. Oh, I did thumbs up just there. But I didn't have my camera near me, so my hand didn't get picked up. But yes, don't you worry. I'll stay right out of it because I bloody don't even know how to use the damn thing properly. But it'll be interesting. It'll be fascinating stuff. It will be fascinating stuff. Be interesting. I was very excited when it happened. Almost didn't feel real in a way. Because, you know, it's been a long time since I've tried for something. I've had my heart in something so much, you know? It's just been a long time since I've been so driven to do something, to the point where I was actually anxious if I wouldn't succeed. It's a feeling I thought I'd forgotten. I'll give you that. Or simply say anything you wouldn't say in public. Well, I'm very good at that. I do treat my online... I do think a lot about how I speak online. Because I always think a lot about how I speak in person. So I'm very careful. I'm always a careful person. Mostly because I was always a child that was never very good at reading the room. So over my life, I've had to learn how to do it. So it's something I have to consciously think about. I have to be very conscious about reading the room. So I'm quite a considered person, honestly. So, people don't like me because I tend to be one of those people who spend long messages in reply. I like to send everything at once. So I spend a lot of time typing, so they're probably watching me, you know, little 3 dots. Like, I don't do those short messages. I'm very long, very considered, very thoughtful about how I speak. So don't you worry. I don't think I'll have a problem. Though I'm less considered on these streams. That's what I'm more worried about, honestly. I'm less considered. More excitable. Yes, other than that, it's good to say that. But yes, it'll be next year. I don't know when exactly. I do know what month it's starting, and you'll all know once I start streaming from a laptop and holding the microphone in my hand. Don't know how that'll work. We'll see if that works. But I have to get a pretty powerful laptop, and the problem was all these powerful laptops. Why is that old man staring at me? I do have a problem about that. I do occasionally stare. I'm a bit of a people watcher, though, so... I'm quite good at staring and kind of not pretending I wasn't. Going, oh, fascinating. Well, yes, it'll be interesting. I'll have to get a powerful computer, but the problem about these powerful computers is they all look... They look like bloody Christmas lights. They look like a Christmas tree covered in lights. Look like they're about to light up. You could bloody... With all the lights and bells and whistles and ridiculous colours that are coming out of them, you'd think... You'd bloody well think there's some sort of... You know... festival lighting or something. But no, it's a computer. You could... The amount of lights that are on those things, you could... You know, light up half the Simpson Desert at night time. And that's a real pain. I really don't like... You know... It's kind of cool, I suppose, but I'm really not a fan of the sort of gamer aesthetic. Like I understand why it's kind of cool, and I'll admit, even I can see the appeal of it sometimes, but even my computer, if I had the choice, I wouldn't have a motherboard covered in bloody gamer lights. I just have them because I didn't have a choice. If I wanted a good motherboard, it had to have gamer lights on it. To do at least what I wanted to do. But otherwise, my computer is a black and white tower. Very clean. If I had my preference, everything would be clean and monochrome. And that you just don't find that in very powerful laptops. That's the problem. And then, if I'm going to be using this laptop for also in a professional space, or in a professional capacity, it'd be... I don't know, it just feels very unprofessional to have one of those fancy gaming laptops. But if I want to stream with it, or... use it for anything other than, well, use it for gaming in my free time, you know, use it to play some video games in my free time, it needs to be one of those more powerful laptops, because the productivity laptops, great for productivity stuff, but not for games. They're also good battery life. So it's a real dilemma, you know? A real bloody dilemma. You know, am I going to go productivity, long battery life, good at word processing and working certain things, or am I going to go with the gaming laptop, you know, covered in lights and colours and, you know, fancy, cool, too cool for you symbols like lions and called things like Razor and Alienware? Or am I going to go for, you know, a mix between, maybe find a... I just want them to look boring, honestly. I miss the old laptops, which are just a, you know, a black Toshiba. Just, but granted, those were productivity laptops, I suppose. Not anything else. Point is, it's a really difficult dilemma. Oh, part of me earning a lot of money is so I could afford that sort of stuff too, like another laptop. So, that's another part of why I'm working so hard right now. Point is, what should I do? Does anyone have any opinions about it? Should I just go productivity and just focus on using it for work and not bother playing games on stream for a long time and just do a sort of just chatting thing? Or should I go with, you know, the whole kit and caboodle and find some way to turn all the fancy lights off so it doesn't look as unprofessional? Why not both? I suppose. Productivity laptops, though, and gaming laptops are both exceedingly expensive. Maybe I should just get a really cheap productivity laptop and a really powerful gaming laptop and keep the gaming laptop at home. Maybe pick up one of those Alienwares that can barely be moved. Or maybe I should just go over there and buy a tower. Maybe I should go to Japan and buy a tower. They have many, you know, electronics stores. So probably would be able to find one. I'm not too sure though. Many things to be worried about. This is all new. This will be all new. I'll be really thrown into the fire with this. But that's why I did it. Wanted to challenge myself, you know? It's been a long time since I've challenged myself. Truly challenged myself. Thrown myself into the fire. So that's what I'm trying to do with this. And I've given some energy back to my life, you know? But it's something that I don't have to think about for a few months yet. But it is exciting, isn't it? It is exciting. It's from the start of this whole plan, I started watching a lot of stuff about Japan to kind of keep my passion going. You know, would it work at least for old games? Yes, that's true. It could. Auto productivity convenient. Would it work at least for gaming? Yeah, I suppose it could. It depends what productivity one you get. I suppose if you get a higher end productivity laptop, it might be okay. I'll have to go. I have some family members who are pretty good with this sort of thing. Maybe I should go talk to them. The one thing I know I won't be buying, though, is a bloody Mac. I'll never buy one of those blasted, overpowered pieces of aluminium. They look really nice, I'll give them that. And it's the same thing with the Razer, I believe it's called. Sleek. Very sleek. And if you can turn off the lights, just a black laptop, honestly. Problem is, they, you know, practically ask for your firstborn child. Yes, overpriced. Overpriced. Those things practically ask for your firstborn child, and at that point I'm asking, am I paying for the actual kit inside, or am I paying for a brand? Is Razer really that expensive to make, or is it just a popular brand? Like Gucci wallets. You know, branded clothing, never been my thing. I like a good suit, but I'd actually rather an unbranded good suit. You know, like a tailored suit. That doesn't have a brand, it's tailored by, it's made by the tailor, out of good materials. That's not branded. I just like a good suit. Hell, there's some good cheap suits out there too. It's the same thing. I never understand. Though I can find them, and if you look at it, I've looked at some kind of gaming laptops. With Apple, you're paying for the brand, and I think it's the same with Razer. Because I found some gaming laptops, which are from less well-known companies. Laptop companies, and they're, you know, $2,500, $3,000. And they're just as powerful as those Razers. Granted, they're not as thin, not as sleek, but they are just as powerful. And honestly, I'd go with those ones over the other ones. Yes, I'll have to go find someone who's very good at this sort of stuff, but yeah, by the head or there. It's things to think about. Things I need to consider. And it's part of budgeting too. I've got savings already, and I need to make sure I have enough to sort of survive, and then I'll have enough to come back to and be able to survive in Australia if I return to Australia. I don't want to spend all of my money and then end up destitute when I return. But you never know, maybe I'll become fascinated with the country and never leave. Never leave again. Who knows? Who knows indeed. Yeah, stuff like that is fascinating. I'm just going to look it up right now. Stop opening some tabs and looking at laptops. Because, you know, let's go, it's like a pretty big place. JB Hi-Fi is a pretty big computer seller. And they have sort of a designation of gaming laptops, and I wouldn't buy it from there. There's online places that I'd probably buy for the stuff. Ooh, I could buy an... Or maybe I should, instead of buying a gaming laptop, I should buy a new Apple phone. Ah, my phone works fine enough. Computers. Laptops. Gaming laptops. What would be performance laptops, I suppose? Maybe doing loads? Those tablet ones are very interesting. If only I was a drawer. It's a performance laptop. The hell is that? Oh, it's a streaming laptop. Oh, interesting. Oh, it's for like photo editing and video editing. So they're productivity laptops of a type. And almost all of them are Apple MacBooks. And then one of them is an Asus laptop. Can see what one they're pushing. All Apple MacBooks. I wouldn't call Apple MacBooks performance, but I guess they like to brand themselves as the laptop for the artist, don't they? See, so many of these Lenovo's and stuff like that they're not great, but they're significantly cheaper. The MacBooks were horrible. A lot of these are significantly cheaper than anything these branded companies come out with. The only problem is they're covered in bloody lights. I don't want a light-up keyboard. There's all the Razer ones that all jump to several $1,000s for no reason. For no good damn reason. No good God-forsaken reason, there, I tell you. Yes. Some of these laptops do have extendable like M.2 ports. I didn't even know laptops could have their sort of size upgraded. But a lot of these have like upgradable M.2 ports. Fascinating stuff, really. You can add terabytes more of data. It's amazing seeing those things, laptops, though. I haven't bought a laptop for a very long time. The last laptop I had, you know, 60 gigabytes of storage or something like that. It was tiny. Tiny amount of storage. It was not big at all. And these days, there's laptops with terabytes of storage and then space for even more storage if you want it. It's ridiculous. Amazing how things have progressed, haven't they? Absolutely amazing how things have progressed. I'm scratching my beard. Can you actually hear that? I wonder if you guys can actually hear me scratching my beard. Probably not. But yes, I've never been much... Other than my phone, I do use Apple phones, mostly because I find them convenient. I find them... I've just used a lot of them. I'm too lazy to learn things. Still can't change the graphics out of my laptop. Yes, that's the hard part. It's mostly just space that you can upgrade on laptops. It's interesting stuff, though. Interesting stuff. So many thoughts about laptops. Productivity and... Apparently, though I think a lot of newer laptops, like with the 12th gen, as they call it, I was talking to a fellow at JB Hive, and he mentioned that a lot of the 12th gen stuff will be coming out soon. So that a lot of the 11th gen processors will become much cheaper. So he's like, if you're going to buy a laptop on a good price, it'll be now. Or soon, toward the end of this year, which is when I was planning on buying it anyway. I was planning on buying it in Australia because I didn't want to have to navigate talking to probably a man who only could speak Japanese at a tech store in Japan. It may be cheaper to buy them in Japan, I don't know. But trying to explain what I need to use it for would be pretty difficult in Japan. I'm not that good at Japanese, and I don't think I'm going to be that good by the time I get there. So I was thinking of getting it here, and also then I would have it on the way over, and I'd have it immediately available to me. I wouldn't have to go out of my way and try and fit it into my schedule as I start. Good choice. Playing those PS games. PS2 games. That's good. There's quite a few good ones. Oh no, I'll go to JB Hi-Fi and buy myself an electric scooter. I need to buy myself a pair of noise-cancelling headphones, too. Yes, God. I don't know how it's going to be. I'm not going to be in a very decadent living situation, I don't imagine. I'll probably be going for the cheapest living I possibly can go for. So, if I end up in a a place that well, I won't have as much space as I have in this house I'm currently in, so that'll be tragic, certainly. So I might need to invest in a pair of noise-cancelling headphones, because it might be useful, because I'll be back to living in tiny apartments like you old fellas have to live these days. I was quite fortunate that I didn't have to live that much. I did deal with student accommodation when I was much younger, but there's a lot less students back then than there are now. It's also rural, so a bit less of a problem. Had your own space. These days, I'd have to be sharing it, probably. Might need to invest myself in a pair of noise-cancelling headphones. Anyone own noise-cancelling headphones? Know any good brands? Just something I'm thinking about. That'd be useful, too. Also, the plane flight would probably be good to have some noise-cancelling headphones. I've never owned them. I usually just go with very cheap headphones. I rely on blocking out my ears with a pair of earbuds to make sure I can't hear anything. Listening to loud music, because I can't hear anything else. And yes, absolutely fascinating stuff. Oh, excuse me. Well, I'm sure you'll get to it, Jack. I'm sure you'll learn. You'll get that laptop that's more powerful. Or that computer that's more powerful. One day, Jack. Definitely. Just like the article in your name. It's definite. It'll happen one day. Yes. All that sort of thing. Maybe I should get one of those tiny cars in Japan. Get one of those little tiny K-vans or whatever they call them, or K-series. They're hilarious. The little wee little cars. Tiny little things. Look like toy cars. They really look like toy cars. What's that line? Passengers are cars stood like toys made of Taiwanese plastic. Really does seem like that in some of the cars over there. Though I hear those little cars are actually really expensive. Those tiny little cars. They're quite expensive to buy because they're so popular. And they're only made in Japan, essentially. So it's not like I got the giant production machine that is China behind it. Because no one else buys those tiny little K-vans. Oh, interesting, interesting, interesting. I could talk about Japan for a long time. I hope I get a chance to travel, though. I do hope I get a chance to travel a bit, because I am going over there to work, but that's because I have more desire to experience what it's like to live and work there, rather than travel as a tourist. Though I'd like to do that, too. I'd like to do that as well. But my voice sounds as like it's getting a bit sore, doesn't it? So, maybe we should call it there. It's almost 3 hours. I'll just leave the stream on until it hits 3 hours. It's only 2 minutes. But anyway, thank you all for using more than the 20th Century as Health Explorer. We'll get back to that game, don't you worry, J-Hag. I'm glad it was interesting, though. Thank you all for listening to my inane geriatric ramblings. Thank you for letting me talk your ear off and interacting as we went. It was nice. It was nice. And, we'll be back sometime next week. I don't know when. Whenever I have a space during my shifts these days. Very variable shifts, unfortunately. That's the problem. Coming in kind of out of nowhere to a company. Sort of a casual, neither here nor there sort of person. Kind of a fixer-upper, honestly. I'm working for my old friend as a sort of fellow he sends to places because he knows I'll do a good job. Because he trusts me. So I'm a bit of a fixer-up, so I'm a bit all over the place. So we don't know when the shifts will be next week, so when I can get them, I'll tell you. Other than that, thank you all for listening and my ramblings, and oh goodness, I've really put some dandruff everywhere. It came out of my beard. I really need to put more moisturizer in my beard or something. So, the 20th Century House Gang, remember, just to return to just chatting next Returnal stream. Well, maybe we will. Maybe we won't. Maybe I'll do it out of spite. Maybe I'll play the game just out of spite. To spite you, J-Hank. To spite you in specific. Other than that, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for humouring me. And as always, good night. Sleep tight. And when we're talking about 20th century houses, return to spite. Thank you for giving me that, way. When you're thinking about 20th century house explorer, return to spite. Anyway, thank you for that. Good night, everyone. And I have no idea what I've put in the last phrase, so... I don't know what's going to turn up when I click to the last scene. Who knows?